to the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan for an important NFC Central Division battle between the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm James Brown. Well, the Packers and Lions come limping into today's contest with identical 1-2 records and in must-win situations. That's because history has shown only one team in the past 5 years has ever started 1-3 and gone to the playoffs. My partners Randy Cross, and Randy, that stat is not lost on offensive guard Billy Art of the Packers. He says this is the biggest game of the year for them.
Well, Billy's right. It is a must-win situation, and quarterback Don Majkowski realizes that also. Last week he got his first start of 1990, looked very rusty, looks very, very average. He said, hey, I'll hit my stride in about 2 weeks. He doesn't have 2 weeks. He's got to be good today. The Packers have to win today if they want to stay in contention. In the Detroit Lions defense, Majkowski's got a group that's missing 5 of its 11 starters and likes to give them the underneath pass, which is the Packers' specialty. Key matchup, the Packer offense against the Detroit defense.
And the Detroit Lions have won the toss and will receive, kicking off for Green Bay. Second-year player out of Texas El Paso, Chris Jackie, and back deep, Mel Gray, leading the NFL in kickoff returns with an average of just over 38 yards. And the longest uninterrupted rivalry is underway at the 10, Mel Gray. And Gray temporarily stopped, but Bulls ahead for the extra 5 yards, dropped by Scott Stevens. So the Lions will operate after that 27-yard return by Mel Gray. Quarterbacking things, Rodney Peake, second-year man out of USC. Had a better outing last week, 17 of 26 for 96 yards. Offensive front, tackles, Lomas Brown and Harvey Salem. Guards, Andolsek and Dallafour. Center is Kevin Glover. Backs and receivers, one running back in this run-and-shoot offense. That's Barry Sanders. 4 wideouts, Clark, Johnson, Matthews, and Greer. First and 10 for the Lions. Ball marked at their own 36. Pete with time decides to take it and heads out of bounds about 1 yard shy of the first down marker. Run out of bounds by Tim Harris. And the defense that Pete will be operating against today of the Packers at the ends, Matt Brock and Robert Brown. Bob Nelson, the nose tackle. Linebacking core, the strength, Scott Stevens, Brian Noble, Johnny Holland, and Tim Harris. And the secondary, Lee, Holmes, Tiger Green, and Mark Murphy, the safeties. 2nd and 1 for the Lions. Greer to the top of the screen. Richard Johnson in motion. And the handoff to Sanders. Sanders has the first down. Just a whole lot more. 17-yard run by Barry Sanders.
And the key to that play is the right guard, number 67, Ken Dallafour, gets out and tries to put a block on Tim Harris. Harris plays it so soft, number 97, gives Barry Sanders the corner. That's something the Green Bay Packers don't want to do, is start giving Barry Sanders some good running holes to work with.
4th leading rusher in the NFC. Impressive start for the Lions as they march. Ball at the 37 of Green Bay. 1st and 10. Pete complete, in and out of the hands of Richard Johnson. So Johnson had the ball for a second, tried to run, and lost it.
And Green Bay tested Barry Sanders early, blitzing Brian Noble, their inside linebacker, number 91, and Barry did a commendable job of stopping him. I don't think he exactly hurt him with the block, but he got in his way.
Little disparity there in size, and Detroit operating with no huddle here. 2nd and 10. 6 DBs in for the Packers. Just underway here in the first quarter. No score. Aubrey Matthews in motion. Pete. Flushed out of the pocket by Harris. Foot race between he and Brock. And Pete with the first down. And Randy, certainly that is one of the real assets of Rodney Peete on that 11-yard run.
Exactly, James. He's got good poise in the pocket, and he realizes, I'm getting a lot of pressure. I better get the heck out of here. They're covering my guys real good. See, it breaks down early with Tim Harris beating Harvey Salem, number 73, and now it's just a race. And I'm sorry, Matt Brock, you're not going to beat Rodney Peete in a foot race.
Pete was very candid telling you last night that while he used to try to be a runner, no longer at this level.
Bob Galliano, number 14, the backup, said, Rodney, get out of bounds. You'll last a lot longer.
1st and 10 from the 27 of the pack. Handoff to Sanders. Sanders juking. And looks to have enough for another first down. An 11-yard run by Barry Sanders. And if Wayne Fontes says he needs to shake and bake on his receiving routes, certainly not in his running style.
Exactly. Well, he's got that running style to start with. He doesn't have it so much in his pass patterns, but very, very key. And what Wayne Fontes wants to do here is keep the nickel guys off the field for Green Bay. He's going with a no huddle, and the run and shoot is very well suited to the no huddle. They don't have to worry about substitutions. They don't ever take go to less than 4 wide receivers.
Ball at the 16 of Green Bay. Opening drive by the Lions. 1st and 10. Pete throws it low, handled by Aubrey Matthews, and Pete had to get rid of that as the pressure was applied by number 90, Tony Bennett.
And Lindy Infante is very high on Tony Bennett. He says he's the kind of guy is going to be a real comer in a couple of years, and he's the perfect guy to complement Tim Harris another year or two down the line from that other deep outside linebacker position.
2-yard pickup on the play, and again a no huddle. 2nd and 8. Richard Johnson in motion. Pete decides to take it. Has another first down near the 5-yard line. So Randy, as you take a look at what Detroit is doing in this opening drive, what's impressive to you?
What really is impressive to me is the poise. Rodney's making some quick decisions. He's going to see things break down out here. He won't have anywhere to go, and the only person that's really going to be able to stop him is Blaze Winter, number 68, coming from that onside, and you're not going to catch Rodney Peete. Right now, he knows there's nobody going to be open. He's going to pull it down and run with it. And Green Bay, though they're covering the receivers very, very well, they want Rodney Peete to have to throw the ball. They would like to have him running.
1st and goal, ball at the 4 of Green Bay. Opening drive for the Lions. Sanders with a good block of Vernell Dent. Plenty of time for Pete. And overthrows the intended receiver, Robert Clark. Well, if Barry Sanders had been criticized because of his poor blocking, he certainly is showing some good blocking in the opening drive here, Randy.
Exactly. Barry's a motivated guy. He says, look, my blocking's getting better. I never had to block at Oklahoma State.
There is a flag in the end zone where the intended receiver, Clark, was.
We have a receiver that went out of bounds, came back in, and it was first to touch. The penalty is loss of down, 2nd down.
Very, very good. Once the receiver is bumped out of bounds, it doesn't matter if it's in the back of the end zone. He cannot come back into the field and be an eligible receiver. He is a dead player. He's supposed to be out of the play completely.
And, of course, not literally a dead player.
For that play.
Our referee today is Tom Dooley.
But a reminder, that was a loss of down.
So it's 2nd and goal from the 4. Pete throws it back to Clark again. This time, touchdown Detroit.
This opening kind of drive is just what Rodney Peete really needed. He didn't have to throw the ball very often, but he was making good quarterback decisions. He was running the ball well, and he found Robert Clark there, number 82, wide open right over on a quick little slant pattern.
Saw Wayne Fontes greeting the group over there, Robert Clark included. And Eddie Murray on for the point after. The holder is Jim Arnold. It's up, and it's good. So the Lions on the scoreboard first, scoring on their opening drive and lead it 7-0.
And on this particular play, Clark is going to beat Jerry Holmes, number 44, who last year was a Detroit Lion, was very, very fired up about playing in this game. But it's just a quick slant pattern. Watch Pete whip around right there. He sees the opening, throws it between arms. Very nice pass and a good catch.
Rodney Peete trying to show people he can throw as well as run. impressive opening to Detroit. Eddie Murray, who's had some difficulty on his kickoffs, Randy, not long enough because of an ailing left hip.
And special teams coach Frank Gans has said he's gotten a lot better, a lot stronger, but this is where it shows, is on the kickoffs.
And this one shows clearly as Carl Bland takes it from the 16. Little juke move takes it up to around about the 27-yard line. So Green Bay will take over, and at the helm, second start for the 90 season, Don Majkowski. Shaky performance last week, but he's had some great games against Detroit. And the offensive front, the tackles, Rutgers and Mandarich. Guards, Ard, Billy Ard and Keith Euchre. Center, James Campen, and the tight end, Ed West. Backs and receivers, Woodside and Fullwood, the running backs. Wide receivers, Sterling Sharp and Perry Kemp. Don Majkowski, very candid about how it's going to take him some time to get in shape, find the groove. Randy says he doesn't have that luxury. On the ground, across the 30, Brent Fullwood. So a 4-yard run by Brent Fullwood, fourth-year player out of Auburn. The defense of the Lions ends Keith Ferguson and Kevin Brooks into the starting lineup this week. Jerry Ball at the nose tackle. Linebackers, Jimmy Williams starting this week. Toby Castone, Dennis Gibson, and Michael Kofer. Secondary, Bruce McNorton in for Terry Taylor, Irvin White, and Herb Welch. White and Welch the safeties. Woodside and Fullwood the backs on 2nd and 6. 3 wideouts in for the Pack. Majkowski, first pass. Complete to Woodside across the 40. Enough for the first down. For Woodside, who caught 59 last year with that reception, 10-yard pickup.
And this is the kind of pattern that takes timing, takes a lot of feel, and Don Majkowski steps right up into the pocket and delivers it on time and on the money to Woodside. Now look how close the Jerry Ball number 93 is to Campen, number 63, trying to get around. He's being held effectively by both Billy Ard, number 67, and Campen, 63, and being frustrated on his pass rush. There's the best nose guard in the league right now, ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Ball.
We'll tell you that too. Here's Fullwood again, second carry. Trying to turn the corner, and does. So Brent Fullwood, 5 yards on the run. Run out of bounds by Dennis Gibson. Gibson, a fourth-year player out of Iowa State. And you know Gibson pretty well. Real solid player in there. Doesn't get a lot of publicity.
Well, he's had Chris Spielman on the other side, who's out right now on IR with a bad shoulder. And Dennis is sort of quiet, very effective player. You know, he made the comment to us Friday. He says, gee, I wish they'd let me blitz more often. You know, Woody Weidenhofer, who's our defensive coordinator, got to let me go more often. I got a sack and a half in 4 years.
Well, they keep track of that.
It's in their contract, that's why.
2nd and 5. And flags everywhere stopping the play. As Fullwood had the call again. But Tom Dooley will have this one.
All start, 77 offense, second down.
And that's against Tony Mandarich. Second-year player, of course, out of Michigan State.
And one of the things you have to learn when you're young is not to give away your stance. Here's Manders right here at right tackle, number 77. We're going to see him just move a little bit, but he's set back right there. That is going to be pass. But he jumps off sides just a little bit, and very effective run blocker. But so far in this first season, he's had a little bit of trouble with his lateral movement on pass blocking. And against a guy like Mike Kofer, number 55, from rushing from the outside, he could give Manders some serious trouble.
2nd and 10. One tackler, throws it out of bounds in the direction of Ed West. Kevin Brooks applying the pressure.
And that's just the thing last week the Packers said Majkowski wasn't doing, was when he got pressure and there wasn't anything there, he was holding the ball too long, trying to make things happen, trying to manufacture some of that magic people attribute him to have. Right there, he made a good decision. He was getting pressure, nobody was open, so he just put that ball where nobody was going to get it except for the people in the front row. And that was one of the things Lindy and Fonnie there, the head coach, with the headset on there, made the comment to us yesterday. Don's just got to settle down in the pocket. You know, he's been out. There's no way to really reproduce standing in the pocket in the NFL outside of standing on the freeway in the fast lane watching cars go by.
3rd and 10. Ball on the 42 of Green Bay. Nickel defensive package in for the Lions. Complete to Sterling Sharp, and he drops it but Sterling actually dropped it because he saw the flag on the play and the officials whistling the play dead.
Delay of game, offense. Third
And
down.
delay of game goes against the Pack. So the miscues continue against the Packers.
That's just part of the result of this new 45-25 clock we got working right now, with 25 seconds for these guys to get off plays. That's why more teams are going to the no huddle. They just don't have as much time to get this play off in the huddle once it's signaled in from the sideline.
3rd and 15 for the Pack. 4 wideouts. Mikowski under pressure again, having to run it. And he gets the first down. So Don Mikowski, showing his athleticism, picks up 17 on the play and a first down.
Well, Don Mikowski is known as a great passer. He will never be confused with having the running ability of a Rodney Peete or an Andre Ware, for that matter, the third-string quarterback for Detroit. Here, now watch Herman Fontenot, 27 on McNorton right there, 29. Great block on that play right there. Mikowski takes what he can get and gets the heck out of bounds.
Now, although the fans may not notice that, certainly the players do, and they'll be pleased to see that in film session on Monday.
Oh, exactly. He'll take a little grief about that stumbling around at the beginning, though, too.
1st and 10 for the Pack. Ball at the 46 of Green Bay. Woodside. Hit by Bruce McNorton. Pickup of about 4 as Woodside trying to find a way through the Lions defense. And speaking of defense, Randy, you mentioned at the top, Lions defense really riddled with injuries.
Well, I think that graphic right there says it all. Look at that. Those were all starters at the beginning of the year. And Jerry Ball, though he's in there, is very, very hampered by a bad ankle. He was only able to play about half the game last week. He goes real hard early, but that ankle starts wearing down. As a matter of fact, Dan Owens, number 70, the rookie out of Southern Cal, is in the game now at nose guard for Jerry Ball.
2nd and 6. Mikowski looking for Sharp, has him. First down. Out of bounds, pushed out by William White and Bruce McNorton. So Sterling Sharp catches it, and there is a flag on a play, a 13-yard pass play between Mikowski and Sharp. And the play will stand as the penalty goes against Detroit.
You saw Sharp give a good arm over right there to McNorton and takes a little shot going out of bounds here. I mean, this guy is talented, works hard.
59 on the defense.
Got a holding
Penalty is
call on
declined.
Jimmy Williams, which has been
First down.
declined, and they'll keep that first down. But Sterling Sharp works hard in the weight room, says he's benched over 400 pounds, probably the strongest wide receiver in the league. And the only thing faster than Sterling Sharp's feet are his mouth. This guy is quick. He's intelligent. I mean, he could give Arsenio Hall a run for his money as a late-night guest, our host.
He is bright and witty. One of the real characters in the league. 1st and 10 for Green Bay. Ball at the 29 of Detroit. Woodside cuts back. Gets inside the 25. Pick up a 4 on the play. So Woodside showing some good cutting ability. Interestingly, talking to Willie Peete, the offensive backfield coach of the Green Bay Packers, he says, although we've got a bevy of backs, they're all role players. We don't have the one guy who can go out and do it all.
Well, that's true. That's one thing they have got. But they do have one guy back there, number 39, Darrell Thompson, a rookie out of Minnesota that Lindy Infante happens to think might be the guy. He says, we'll get him in some today. We got to find out what this guy can do.
Right now, the Pack trying to find out what they can do on 2nd and 6. Sterling Sharp to the top of the screen. Forward. And forward. Driven back after a pickup of 4. And a flag on the play. And upset right now is Dennis Gibson, doing a little wolfing seemingly with Tony Mandarich.
Well, it doesn't really matter who hit who first or who punched who. It's who swung last and the ref saw. Let's watch the end of this play. You want to watch Gibson, number 98, and look for Mandarich, number 77, right there in front of him. It must have happened on the ground. Oh, there it is. Oh, a little kick, little friendly foot contact.
You got to like the spunk, if not the penalty.
Well,
Against Detroit. I mean, in that Gibson only 243 going against a guy who's at 295.
But by the same token, it's a dumb mistake by Tony Mandarich right there, number 77. You got to keep your cool. Offensive players are supposed to be the ones that keep their cool in situations like that. Let the defender be the guy that kicks. Let him be the one that hits. You've got a first down. Your ball moves back the field. Now, right now, you're looking at 2nd and 17.
Actually, call it 2nd and 20. Sharp in motion. 4 wideouts in for the Pack. Mikowski finds Sharp over the middle. Sharp hog-tied by Bruce McNorton. Now, Randy, the question is, did you employ that kind of calm, collect reasoning when you were playing in the heat of battle?
Well, you don't have much choice when you're an offensive player. You've got to sort of keep your composure. And Tony Mandarich is obviously ready to play in this game. The guy's fired up. You've just got to sort of use that safety lever, the little steam release. You can't let it explode like that. Tony's a great run blocker. He's going to be a good pass blocker. He did a fine job on the last play against Keith Ferguson.
Pickup of 8 brings up 3rd and 12. Owens, the rookie out of USC. And the word on Dan Owens, very, very versatile.
Very versatile. He's got a great refreshing outlook on the game, too. Has a lot of fun. Owens to come from nose tackle. We get a stunt here. Owens will come around and watch the expression, the body language, when he hits this ball and realizes he could have had himself an interception. Because he's going to jump up here. He hits it. Oh, right in the chest. Oh, my goodness.
Chris Jackie on for Lindy Infante to attempt a 49-yard field goal. It's up. And it's no good. So Jackie, who has set a Packer record of 15 consecutive field goals, does not get a chance to extend it. Pack still scoreless. In Pontiac, Michigan, and an even more gorgeous shot coming from the blimp. Talk about our array of cameras, the aerial photos courtesy of the SeaWorld blimp, which goes by the name Airship Shamu.
That's a catchy little thing. I can't stand these dome stadiums. I really don't like these. It's like playing football in your living rooms. This thing has got to be outside.
Detroit ball, 1st and 10 from its own 31. Lions on top 7-0. Pete with time. With plenty of time, going for Richard Johnson. And they say he's out of bounds. Johnson's stride was carrying him out of bounds.
Yeah, that was not a very hard decision to make. I believe both of his feet were out of bounds by the time he caught the ball. It seems he just a little bit lost track of where he was on the field. Now watch the very end of this thing. He's concentrating. You can't see his feet. He's concentrating like crazy. And by the time he looks back from the ball and looks down to put his feet down, he's out of bounds. He's out of bounds with the first foot, and he's out of bounds with the second foot. But it was a very nice touch pass by Rodney Peete. And thus far, this Detroit Lions offense is looking very, very effective. You know, Rodney's gotten a lot of heat about being the minus, because teams are saying, you've got to beat us throwing the ball. But I agree with the observation you had yesterday. A little bit of that blame's got to be spread around to the wide receivers. I mean, this is not a championship class group of wide receivers that Rodney Peete's throwing to.
The play was being reviewed. And the replay official for today, Cal Lepore. And I'm sure that the play will be upheld, as you indicated, Randy.
After further review, the play will stand as called. It is 2nd down.
So it brings up a 2nd and 10. Robert Clark to the near side, trips receivers to the right. .426 remaining in the first quarter. Lions up by a touchdown. Pete to Clark, in and out of the arms of Robert Clark. On the coverage that time, Leroy Butler. Butler, a rookie out of Florida State. As you take a look at Robert Clark. Real Smurf type receivers. Now, Randy, if you had to grade the type of receivers that the Lions have, what grade would you give them?
Well, I'd give them about a 4.5 on a scale of 10. I mean, I wouldn't call them Smurf. That's the Washington old wide receivers. Those were real quality guys. These guys are more like the Munchkins.
3rd and 10. misses Tim Harris. Harris pressuring Rodney Peete. And Peete rifles it to Richard Johnson, and it's complete for the first down. Now, Randy, you talk about poise under pressure. Tim Harris looking to take Rodney Peete's head off, and Peete staying focused.
Exactly, and Barry Sanders, watching right here, number 20, throw a Nolan Ryan, which is a no-hitter, a whiff, an didn't touch him. Right here, he's all over Peete. And poor Dallafor, 67, is trying to chase him, but he ain't going to catch Tim Harris. Watch this throw. Zipped it right past Mark Lee, 22, and in front of Jerry Holmes, number 44, and hit Johnson right on the chest.
1st and 10. Ball from the 45 of Detroit. Late handoff to Sanders. Sanders looking for a hole, finds it. And picks up a good 8 to 9 on the run. Randy, talk about creating something where nothing was. That's his strength.
Oh, exactly. What he has the rare ability to do, and to watch here, watch not when he's going forwards, folks. Watch what happens when he's going sideways. Now all of a sudden he's going full speed again. Now he goes sideways. Now he's going full speed forward again. The guy is uncanny. He has got power and acceleration like no other back, I think, for a long time in the NFL.
2nd and 1. Ernell Dent chasing down Peete, and Peete wisely gets rid of it in time. So the last couple of times, Rodney Peete operating under pressure, but that good speed of his working to his advantage as we wind down toward the end of the first quarter here. Live from the Silverdome here in Pontiac, Michigan. James Brown along with Randy Cross. 7-0 ball game. Detroit on top. Thanks to that Rodney Peete to Robert Clark pass in the first quarter. Early first quarter. And we got a 3rd and 1 situation here. Ball at the 46 of Green Bay. Sanders. First down. And Randy, talk about acceleration. Mike Weddington was within a yard of Sanders from behind to grab him, and Sanders exploded.
On a quick play like that, and Detroit has actually become a very, very effective quick trapping team because they have guards in Dallafor, number 67, and Andlesick, number 65, who trap very, very effectively. And on that last play, Tim Harris was trapped by Andlesick, and Barry Sanders only needs a crack. You don't need to block a hole. I mean, most backs need a hole. Barry Sanders needs a ray of sunlight, and he's through it and gone.
You said a crack, the tiniest of cracks. He's carried 4 times for 44 yards in the first quarter alone. Peete. Intended receiver was Robert Clark, as Leroy Butler was going for the interception. That would have been a magnificent one if he could have gotten to it.
He'd need a step ladder to get at that ball. That ball wasn't going to be anywhere where anybody could get it.
1:50 remaining in the first quarter. Both of these teams records 1 and 2. 3-way tie for 3rd place in the NFC Central Division. Rodney Peete recognizing how important today's game is for the Lions. 2nd and 10. Peete going up top, looking for Johnson. Overthrows him. And Jerry Holmes there with him, step for step.
And this is almost a replay on that last play of what happened late in the 4th quarter last week against Tampa Bay. Had a wide open Robert Clark in that case and overthrows him. And here Johnson's got to step on Holmes, number 44, the cornerback. You know, Richard Johnson told us, I can go back to Mouse Davis and I'll tell him if I think Holmes is squatting a little bit or he's reading or cheating on some of my moves, we're going to go downfield. Obviously, Johnson reads something in Holmes because they're testing him early and they're testing him deep.
3rd and 10. That block coming from behind. Ball tipped as Barry Sanders was going for the reception. Sanders wisely got out of the way as he saw Mark Murphy coming to lay the hit on. Now, in the series before, Lomas Brown limped off the field, the starting left tackle for the Lions. Harvey Salem came in to replace him. We'll check on Lomas Brown's condition.
And Salem had left earlier in the game with a little bit of a muscle cramp. So it's a real concern. They cannot afford, the Detroit Lions cannot afford to lose offensive linemen. They don't have a whole lot of depth on that offensive line, though I think they're pretty good. They don't have much depth.
Lomas Brown, number 75 there, limping. Jeff Query back deep for the Pack to receive this Jim Arnold punt. And the special teams of Detroit do a great job of downing the ball near the 2. Ray Crockett, give the credit to him, 35-yard punt.
The gentleman in the middle of the screen there is Jerry Wampler, the offensive line coach, drawing out some of the blitz pickups for the offense. And speaking of the offensive line, Lomas Brown, the left tackle, number 75, is said to have a twisted ankle and will return. But the blitz pickup, very important for the line, maybe more important for Barry Sanders, that he knows who he's supposed to block as well as how to block him.
1st and 10 from the 5, Fullwood across the 10 to about the 14-yard line. So Brent Fullwood running well for the Pack.
Both teams up on the offensive line are getting some good push against these defenses and open up some pretty significant gashes in these defensive fronts.
9-yard run by Brent Fullwood will bring up a 2nd and 1. Anthony Dilweg opened up the season for the Pack in impressive fashion. Struggled a little bit in game 2.
And got enough plays in that first game, having a great game. Player of the NFC Player of the Week to the first highlights film, but don't look to see him too often unless Mikowski gets hurt.
Fullwood dropped in the backfield. Give the credit to Dennis Gibson. And a flag on the play. Well, I don't know if Gibson was blitzing or not, but he got back there quickly as if he was blitzing.
Personal foul. Roughness, 59 defense. First down.
Now the personal foul goes against Jimmy Williams, the 9th-year veteran out of Nebraska, who certainly has a reputation as being one of the cleanest players around. As you take a look at Wayne Font's hands on hips.
Nuts anymore. He got caught that time doing a little hit to the face, I believe is what they would call that. But and he's starting today for George Jamison, number 58, who's out with an injured ankle, I believe. I'm sorry, a banged up shoulder.
1st and 10. Ball at the 28 of Green Bay. Mikowski looking for Sharp. Incomplete. Off the fingertips of Sterling Sharp. Sterling Sharp last year had 90 receptions, leading the NFL in that category. Coming into today's game, only had 10. And the word was that most of the defenses were rotating toward him and giving double coverage. But Sterling says, hey, I haven't seen that.
Not really. I mean, they're just having a hard time getting back in sync with Don Mikowski not being used to throwing the ball out there. Sterling says, I'm a very patient player. Last year, I'd go to the sideline and tell Lindy I'm open. I'd go to the huddle. I'd tell Don I'm open. This year, I'm more relaxed. I'm more poised. Just throw me the ball.
Ray Crockett, the 5th DB in for Detroit, as Mikowski eludes the rush. First down, still on his feet across midfield and roped out of bounds by Ray Crockett.
And another fine job downfield by Herman Fontenot, the fullback, number 27, did a great job on McNorton again, number 29, keeping him off of Mikowski. But Mikowski so far is running the ball pretty well. I mean, the Lions were very, very concerned about Mikowski's ability to get out and run around.
And that's the end of the first quarter. That 24-yard run by Don Mikowski. Lions lead it 7-0. Another picturesque shot courtesy of our blimp. Lions on top as we start the second quarter by a touchdown. And Don Mikowski doing the job on the ground, Randy, at least anyway.
That's the story so far in this game, James. These quarterbacks are getting themselves out of trouble. And there's Rodney Peete talking to Bob Galliano, number 14. Both quarterbacks are getting rushed. They're getting flushed out of the pocket, but they have the poise and the blocking downfield to gain significant yards on the ground.
Mikowski back to pass on first down. With time. Throws it high and incomplete to Michael Haddix. We talked about Mikowski's ground statistics. Take a look at the quarterbacks on the run this year.
Exactly, but you know what you don't really want to do, and even especially in a run and shoot offense, there you see Rodney Peete leading the league in quarterback rushing. Quarterbacks take enough of a pounding in the run and shoot, just standing back there in a 3 to 5 step drop trying to throw the ball. They get out there and start getting whacked on the run too. You better be very deep at the quarterback position, and that's a luxury Detroit does have. They have 3 good quarterbacks.
Of course, those numbers reflective of action coming into today's game. Second down for Perry Kemp. Incomplete. Is a live ball? No, it's a dead ball. Officials are whistling it dead. So Perry Kemp going across the middle where most receivers dread. Had it for a second, but lost it on the hit.
Well, it's one of those things, unless you've done it in the last week or so, some receivers tend to sort of forget about what happens in there. Well, Perry Kemp is going to get a very good reminder what happens when you go inside. Look at this. Watch his ribs. Bam, bam, ball. Forget it. I'm grabbing my side. That hurt. Very, very nice play right there by Dennis Gibson coming in here after the ball, trying to keep him away from the ball. That wasn't a late hit, ladies and gentlemen. That was just very, very aggressive defense.
Perry Kemp at only 5'11", 165, and you saw Kemp whistling and signaling for a timeout. So Green Bay gets it. Ball at the 48 of Detroit. We'll be back. On hand, watching the Lions ahead by a touchdown over the Green Bay Packers as Don Majkowski brings the pack to the line. 3rd and 10. Ball at the 48 of the Lions. Flag on a play. Majkowski throws complete to Sterling Sharp for the first down, but there is a flag back near the line of scrimmage. And preliminary signal.
Offsides, 91 defense. Penalty is declined. First down.
Against the Detroit Lions, and 91 is Mark Duckins, a second-year player out of Arizona State.
Well, if you can't get an effective playoff, why not get a penalty? And here we see Tony Manders, number 77, going against Hayworth, the rookie, number 99. And Manders does a fairly good job for the first 4 or 5 steps, then pushes him around the corner. That's something a lot of offensive tackles don't think about. You don't have to stuff the guy every play. If you make him run around and the quarterback can step up, that's as good as a stuff.
Majkowski complete to Woodside, inside the 20. Down to about, and make that inside, down to about the 14-yard line, a 12-yard pickup on the play. Keith Ferguson on the tackle.
And Woodside made William White, number 35, the safety, look real bad on that one. Not only did he miss him once originally, he missed him another time coming back. And Woodside wasn't moving real fast. Those were little quick, slow moves.
Seems like a little fear on the part of the defender. Ball marked at the 16. 1st and 10. Packers threatening. Second quarter action here. Pack trailing by a touchdown. Woodside and Haddix, the backs. Play action. Ferguson running Majkowski out of bounds. And Jimmy Williams helping Keith Ferguson.
Don sort of looks over to the sideline and shrugs over at Lindy and says, hey, I couldn't do anything else. That was a good decision on his part. I mean, one thing that does sort of bring up, you know, it's 2nd and 11 now. That will be recorded as a sack against the offensive line. He lost a yard. That is a sack. You'll play entire games sometimes as an offensive line. You'll stuff the guys. Then the quarterback will run off the field, lose 1 yard, and you pick up a sack.
Well, the easiest sack Keith Ferguson has ever gotten in his 10th year in the league. Play action on 2nd and 11. Majkowski. Incomplete, intended receiver Herman Fontenot. And Fontenot covered nicely by Toby Castone. I mentioned Castone. Up until recently, of course, it was Toby Caston. But an interesting story as to why the name pronunciation difference now.
Well, that's just like Wayne Fontes and his brother. Fontes, his pronunciation, his brother uses on the defensive staff, and Wayne uses Fontes. Toby went down to New Orleans, sort of researched his family roots and figured out the proper pronunciation of his last name was Castone.
And we'll run with that. Dime defensive package in for the Lions. 6 DBs on 3rd and 11. Sterling Sharp tried to one-hand it in, incomplete. And Randy, I'm a little surprised in that Sharp didn't go in that fundamentally sound by putting 2 hands up as opposed to trying to one-hand it.
That's not a typical Sterling Sharp performance right there. He just sort of, I don't know, lackadaisical would be the proper term, but just sort of stuck his hand up there to knock it down.
So Chris Jackie will come on to attempt a 35-yard field goal. Missed the 49-yarder earlier. It's up. And it's good. So Chris Jackie finally puts the Pack on the board. They will credit him with a 34-yarder, 7-3. Well, the score reflects Detroit on top by 4 with 12:49 remaining in the second quarter. Randy talked about the quarterbacks doing the job on the ground, but Randy, what about pass and pass defense?
I think the pass defenses on both sides of the ball are doing very, very effective jobs of shutting down the wide receivers. And both quarterbacks are obviously very fired up and ready to play. Why else would you be running around risking limb and life trying to get those extra yards like these 2 guys are doing?
From the 1, Mel Gray. And Scott Stevens drops him at the 20.
Special teams coaches like Frank Gans from Detroit hate to see guys returning a ball like that on a kickoff. Why get up there on the 20-yard line and stand there and shake your shoulder pads and make everything move funny? Get up the field. Just run. If there's going to be people there, try to split them. Take a chance. Make a move at a later date, but don't make a move when you're surrounded by 4 guys that aren't going to miss you.
Tampa Bay still leading Minnesota. Tampa Bay, Vinny Testaverde specifically 0-4 against the Vikes in his career. 4 wideouts in. Standard run and shoot set for the Detroit Lions. 1st and 10 from their own 21. And Pete finds Richard Johnson. And Johnson steps out of bounds after a 3-yard pickup. And boy, a resounding chorus of boos from the fans here who maybe don't understand what a 5'6" receiver sees and feels when he looks at Tim Harris at 6'6", 260.
You know, God bless these folks. They pay a lot of good money to see their favorite team play, but by the same token, they've never gotten a face full of face mask and shoulder pad and everything else and been whacked. Johnson just decides to live to fight another day against Tim Harris, 97 there. That was not what you'd call fear or intimidation. I thought that was good show of intelligence by Richard Johnson, getting the heck out of bounds and away from Tim Harris.
The young man who learned something in the business world, working for 2 years with IBM. 2nd and 8. Pete, flag on a play, incomplete. Intended receiver Robert Clark.
It would look from the early indications that's going to probably be holding against Ken Dallafor, the right guard, number 67, working against Tim Harris.
And Tim Harris is working verbally already, as he's known to do. Working things up.
The base, number 67 offense, 2nd down.
We saw Tim Harris there getting worked up. Hank Bulla, the defensive coordinator, really had some interesting remarks about Tim Harris.
He says, this is a fired up guy. Here we see Dallafor right here working against Harris. Watch his hands. His hands are going to go up into Harris's face, and that's what they see. Right there. See that face right into the face mask turning his head? That's what the umpire saw, and that's why he threw that flag on Tim Harris. On Ken Dallafor.
Brings up a 2nd and 18. Pete with all kinds of times except now. Bennett giving chase. Incomplete, throwing in the direction of Barry Sanders and Robert Clark.
That was thrown in the direction of Mark Murphy, the safety for the Green Bay Packers, number 37. He looked so surprised that ball went through his hands like he can't be throwing at me.
Good pressure applied by Tony Bennett, attributing to these numbers here 4 of 12 for Rodney Peete. So,
well, we talked about the fact that he's running the ball effectively. That's why the Detroit offense right now is being effective. Barry Sanders is running the ball good. Rodney Peete's getting out there and running the ball. You're not going to beat anybody in the NFL throwing with those kind of numbers, though. If you're 4 for 12 for 22 yards and you're relying on your quarterback to lead you, you're going to be in a whole lot of hurt.
From the 13, 3rd and 18. Sanders. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And Detroit, 3 and out on that series, will have to punt it away. Well, there's been an awful lot written about the run and shoot and whether or not Wayne Fontes ought to scrap the system altogether. He's committed to it in conversations with us, Randy.
Oh, without a doubt. I happen to think it's a very, very effective offense. And there's Wayne Fontes with the headset on the right, and Mouse Davis, his offensive coordinator, on the left, the recent architect of the run and shoot. But I think the key to the run and shoot offense is you've got to have an effective, very accurate quarterback, and Rodney Peete so far has not been that.
Arnold boots this one to the waiting arms of Jeff Query, who takes it at the 43. He's fast. And run out of bounds at about the 43. Packers ball when we come back. Next week between number 2 and number 10 at 2 o'clock Eastern time right here on CBS. Florida State against Miami. And of course, it all gets started with the college football today with Andrea Joyce and Mike Francesa.
Bobby Bowden from Florida State is going for win number 200. Both teams kind of labeled outlaws, but it's always exciting offensive football.
Mikowski going up top for Sterling Sharp. And a flag on a play. Leroy Irvin right there step for step with him. And it looked like the 11-year veteran Irvin had him wrapped up with that arm.
Irvin had his hands, his arms, his chest, his entire body all over Sterling Sharp. He was on him like a cheap suit.
Defensive pass interference, 47 on the 5-yard line, first down.
Now, Leroy Irvin, the longtime Rams quarterback, number 47 there, obviously doesn't agree. Mikowski throws this for about all it's worth. Look at that thing wobbling and moving sideways. But Irvin here, you saw where the bump and the infraction happened was early. When Irvin was not looking back at the ball, he was bumping Sterling Sharp. If he'd have been looking back towards the ball and had that contact, it would have been incidental contact, and it would have been all right.
So it brings up a 1st and goal, ball at the 5. Out of the I formation, Fullwood hit by Keith Ferguson back near the line of scrimmage.
Ferguson made a good play there, 77 for the Lions against his counterpart, 77. Mandarich, the right tackle for the Green Bay Packers. Mandarich came off the ball. He was going to blast him. He's known as a great drive blocker. I'm going to put this guy in the end zone. And the wily old 10-year veteran Ferguson kind of stood him up very nicely, used his momentum against him, threw him on the ground, made the tackle.
The best cornerback the Lions have ever had for their team, Lem Barney, up in the booth with us. Agreed with the last call, believe it or not. 2nd and goal, ball at the 4. Mikowski. Touchdown, Green Bay, Ed West.
That's a play we're seeing more and more of, I think, every week, James. These defenses are becoming so quick, they react so fast, quarterbacks are bootlegging. And that was a classic boot where you pull somebody out in front of the quarterback and you use them to come around and you just release that tight end late back towards the line. Watch West will come out here, go here. Now watch Mikowski's going to come out here. He'll have a blocker in front of him that'll cut down the interference there, and that's what leads the way.
Back to live action as Chris Jackie makes good on a point after. So the Packers move out in front of the Lions by the score of 10-7.
Here's West, number 86. Moran, left guard, is going to come out. He goes to the back of the end zone. Moran pulls out, cuts down the outside linebacker. Mikowski comes here and hits his man for an easy touchdown in the back of the end zone. This is what you refer to as a clean boot. There is nothing prettier as an offensive player when you free up a guy that clean for a lead.
Detroit ball thanks to an excellent return, a 28-yard return by Jeff Campbell. And it's now 2nd and 1 for the Lions in this drive. Sanders stepping out of bounds near the 40. Called it a 4-yard run by Barry Sanders.
You want to see the equivalent of a football with a football guy of a gnat on the front of a doggone semi-truck? Watch Richard Johnson, 84, trying to block Harris, number 97. This is called nice try, but maybe next time. Hey, get out of my face. There he goes. Give me a big guy. Give me a lineman. He throws him down on the ground, too.
Very active Tim Harris in search of the elusive 50th career sack. Got his last sack, second game of the season last year. A lot of attention focused on him. 1st and 10 here for the Lions. Peat complete to Greer. First down plus a bunch. Peat to Greer. Tiger Green pushes him out of bounds near the 20.
And that play was a good example of the kind of holes in defenses the run and shoot can stretch a defense into. Because Greer is just going to go past the cornerback. Naturally or normally, you'd see this little support on the inside from the safety. But Lee's beaten deep. George Tiger Green comes in here and makes a tackle and drives him out of bounds. But it was a nice throw by Rodney Peat into obviously what would seem to be a mistake by the defense, allowing that big of a hole.
Longest pass completion of the year for Peat, a 40-yarder. This is Sanders on 1st and 10. 3-yard pickup, and Sanders is in the game with the Lions in the red zone. And last week, for the last 10 minutes of the game, Sanders was not in there, Randy.
Well, our producer, Bob Monsbach, asked head coach Wayne Fonts Friday. He said, whose decision was that? Was that yours or Mouse Davis's? And Wayne Fonts looked him dead in the eye
emphatically
and said, I make every decision on this football team. I made that decision. He doesn't pass block as well as we'd like. James Wilder, number 34, was our guy at the time. Any questions?
2nd and 7. Ball at the 17 of Green Bay. Richard Johnson, incomplete. And from this angle, he looked to be wide open.
It sort of looked like right there he needed 3 inches more legs and about another 4 inches of arms, and he'd have been fine. Because that pass is thrown inbounds, right on the corner, throwing towards the flag. A normal side receiver's got this ball. That just went right through his hands. He just couldn't be tall enough for that pass right there.
And Randy, that's the kind of statistic that will not show up, or rather embellishment in the statistic that won't show up when you look at Rodney Peat's numbers. 3rd and 7 from the 17. Peat looking for Johnson again. Touchdown, Detroit. Little Richard Johnson got behind Mark Murphy and picked up some inches that time.
Well, the last play, Richard Johnson made an easy one look hard. This play for the touchdown, he makes a hard one look easy. Watch here. Would he have come down in bounds with both feet? Richard Johnson has the ball. Yes, he would have come down in bounds. He would have come down with both feet in bounds, but was contacted by the defender who knocked him out of bounds. They're going to review this again, I think, but it's clear that he gets the 1 foot down, then the defender pushes him, and his momentum added to the defender made him go out of bounds.
So now Lindy Infante, as you take a look at the replay booth with Cal Laporte, trying to help the replay officials by signaling for a timeout so that they can review it. But Wayne Fonts ought to know the rule as well as you. And again, Randy, the key there
is the fact that he would have come down in bounds with both feet had he not been contacted by the receiver. He comes down here, watch, 1 foot's in, the defender hits him, Murphy hits him and drives him out of the end zone. He never had a chance to get that 2nd foot down before he was knocked out of bounds. Watch it one more time. Johnson's got it. The 1 foot comes down, contact is made. The left leg will never have a chance to get out because Murphy is pushing him out the back of the end zone.
Now there is a 2-minute limit imposed on instant replay decisions this year from the time that the umpire signals that a replay is in effect when he's communicated to from the replay booth there. As you take a look at Cal Laporte with the glasses. And right now, if you're keeping track, it's been 1 minute and 15 seconds. Lindy Infante staying on top of things. Can't fault him for trying to help his own cause by whistling for that timeout quickly.
Yeah, if there is a flaw in this replay system, it's that it does take, I think, too long for review. You look at it 2 or 3 times. If it looks very obvious, you have to have an obvious reason to overrule. It cannot be something minute. It's got to be a very, very obvious thing to overrule the on-field officials. Now, does anything look extremely obvious to you here? It looks like he's going to come down with one leg. He would have come down with the other one. Murphy hits him, pushes him out of bounds.
Wayne Fontes having a real fit right now. You saw him earlier put up 2 fingers. He realizes that there's a 2-minute limit on that as well. Infante, of course, trying to argue his case, saying it's incomplete. He's out of bounds. Now, it has been 2 minutes and 15 seconds, according to our clock, from the time that the umpire signaled that a replay was in effect.
And it's got to be a very helpless kind of a situation for Tom Dooley, the referee. He just has to stand around and listen while the umpire talks to the booth upstairs. It takes this long, I bet they reverse this thing, James.
We have a reversal. It's an incomplete pass.
Randy, according to the ground rules that you stated, and you can take a look at Wayne Fontes, who is irate at the reversal.
I think he's pointing the intricacies of the rules out right there to that official in his face. But they obviously thought that his momentum would have carried him out the back of the end zone. I don't happen to agree with him. I think he would have landed that left foot in the end zone if nobody would have touched him. But perhaps he's bobbling the ball at the very end. Watch the ball. Don't watch his feet. Yes, good call by the referees. I'm wrong. He did not have control of that ball at the very end of the catch.
So Randy Cross will acknowledge when at fault. So Eddie Murray will come on and attempt a 34-yard field goal. And it's no good. So Detroit comes away empty-handed after the reversal and a missed field goal attempt and trail. Reverse call nullifies a touchdown strike from Pete to Johnson. And Randy, here it is.
From this angle, it will look like Johnson is pushed out of the end zone. It should have been a touchdown. It should have been 6 points. He's going to have the ball. You'll see his body turn away from the camera here. From here on out, it looks like 6. Now from this angle, watch him bobble the ball. He does not have control.
Jackie Harris in motion, full with the ball carry on 1st and 10 for the Pack, and another first down. And Brent Fullwood, aggressive, hard running, picks up about 12 on the play.
That can be a real emotional plus for the Green Bay Packers to have that touchdown taken away. It's the second time this year Detroit's had points taken off the board by a replay, and they get nothing in return. And this is just attitude. Hallstrom, the right guard, 65, gets a good block, as does Mandaritz, the right tackle, 77. And then it's just Brent Fullwood giving e-ticket rides to the rest of the Detroit defense right there for a good 10, 12-yard gain.
And Fullwood would want to be given credit for all of the yardage. They call it a 16-yard gain. 1st and 10. Haddix for a couple. I guess just to put a knot, tie a bow into the discussion on the reversal there, the thing that Wayne Fontes additionally was most upset about, being well aware of the rules, is that it took longer than 2 minutes to make a decision. And if in fact the decision is not made in 2 minutes, then it's to be ruled inconclusive and the play stands. So Fontes very upset.
Well, they've obviously torn that little excerpt out of the rule book this year, because I don't know if we've had too many replays that have not been in excess of 2 minutes.
Miami blitzing Pittsburgh, 21 zip. 5 DBs in for the Lions. 39 Ray Crockett, the 5th DB. On 2nd and 7. Nearly intercepted by William White, intended receiver Perry Kemp, the man they call Commodore. And Commodore Kemp goes over and says, yeah, that was your play.
That was a very good play fake. They faked the ball to Brent Fullwood. Mikowski hid the ball in his hip very, very well. But I don't think he was too open, Kemp. If he had that to throw over again, I believe Mikowski would have thrown that one into the ground or up over the sideline where nobody else could get it.
3:55 remaining in the first half. Packers on top by 3. Makowski tries to drill it for Sterling Sharp, who was well covered. And this may be a case here, Randy, that play there of Makowski trying to get Sharp into the flow of things, but forcing it.
And Ray Crockett was all over him. He just threw the ball behind Sterling Sharp, and good coverage there by Crockett, number 39. But that was not really a case of great coverage, as it was a matter that Don Makowski did not put the ball where Sterling Sharp could catch it.
So Don Bracken on for his first punt of the afternoon for the Packers. Averaged only 29 yards on 3 punts last week. Mel Gray back to receive from the 27. Tries to reverse field and scoots ahead to about the 36. Stopped by Michael Haddix. Baseball, of course, in the news as well. As you take a look at the standings in the National League, Pittsburgh ahead of the New York Mets by 4. Pirates magic number 1. One loss by the Mets or a win by Pittsburgh, and they clinch it. And starting next Thursday in Cincinnati, the Reds will be hosting the National League Championship Series, playing against either the Pirates or the Mets. That'll be brought to you prime time right here on CBS. Jack Buck, Tim McCarver calling the action.
Yeah, I think at this point you can sort of, like you would say, stick a fork in the Mets. They're done. This year is over for the New York Mets, and it's the Pittsburgh Pirates in the East.
I like the way you're very diplomatic. Dance around things. 1st and 10 for the Lions. 5:39 remaining in the first half. Detroit trailing by 3. Pete complete to Richard Johnson for the first down across midfield. So little Richard Johnson, who missed 2 years of professional ball, working in the corporate environment with IBM, called back into play by Mouse Davis, who knew that he understood the run and shoot extremely well when he played in the USFL.
It's very, very important right now that Rodney Peete has a receiver like a Richard Johnson to stabilize his receiving core. He's the most dependable. He knows this offense inside and out, and he can actually help a quarterback read the defense better.
Ball at the 46. Delayed handoff to Sanders. Sanders making people miss, as is his trademark. Mark Murphy has to push him out of bounds as opposed to trying to tackle him. 9 yards on a play that didn't look as if it had an open at all.
There wasn't a block on that play on the right side of the Detroit offensive line. Sanders was just shaking and baking and making people miss. Every time he'd start moving, he'd see somebody in front of him, give him a wiggle, then accelerate. It's that quick acceleration. He got away from Matt Brock, he got away from Scott Steven, and got all the way around to the outside.
Very nice young man, and although very quiet and soft-spoken, Randy seemed to be distinctly upbeat as compared to last year when we chatted with him. Maybe he likes you guys an awful lot. 2nd and 1. Sanders trying to block, ball tipped. And that ball tipped by Mark Murphy, number 37, the safety, on a safety blitz, who Sanders was trying to block. And, you know, Barry Sanders is the kind of blocker right now at this point of his career. He's sort of a scared blocker. He's not scared, but he's afraid of the result if something goes bad. He's not really trying to get in there and intimidate people. He's more afraid of the fact, well, gee, if I miss, he's going to get my quarterback. Or, gee, if I miss, he's going to hit the other running back. Oh, what am I saying? There isn't another running back. But, you know, he's a guy right now that doesn't have much confidence in his blocking ability. You're right. The other running back, the only other running back on the sidelines, James Wilder, picked up from the Redskins in the trade that sent Eric Williams there. Here comes Sanders. There goes Sanders. Mike Weddington catching him in the backfield before he's able to cut. And he's dropped, and Tim Harris a little excited on the play. And the crowd screaming for Wayne Fontes and the Lions to go for this 4th down play, and it would look like they are going to do it and not send in their punting. On 4th and 1. Ball at the 37 of Green Bay. 3:54 remaining in the first half. Packers on top 10-7. And Rodney Peete signaling, hey, Wayne, take a look at the clock. Now the play clock ticking down, and they signal for a timeout with 8 seconds remaining on the play clock. Rodney Pete's going to come to the sidelines here and go to Wayne Fontes and Mouse Davis and go, now,
It's 4th and half a yard. You sure we don't have any fullbacks or tight ends on this team I could use in this short yardage situation? Here's a situation where a run and shoot team is at a disadvantage on a 4th and short down by the goal line, because they do not have the big horses at a tight end or a lead block as a fullback to get that tough yardage. They're spread out. The defense is spread out, but you got to make most of your yardage and short yardage and goal line situations going east and west. You don't have the punch and the muscle to go up the middle.
Next Sunday, the excitement begins at 12:30 Eastern time with the last word before kickoff, the NFL Today. Then many of you will see the Lions take on the Vikings in the Metrodome. And some of you will see the Packers and the Bears collide in a classic NFC Central showdown. Check your local listings for the game time in your area. Randy, let's complete that thought now. Although there are no tight ends on the roster for Detroit, only 2 running backs, why not just throw in some extra big linemen then to get the same effect?
Mainly because I don't know if Dwayne Fonts and Mouse Davis have the confidence. They had guys last year, they used it. It wasn't that effective. They decided to go full term with this run and shoot even in these situations.
This situation here, 4th and 1. Play action. Pete. And he gets it. Flag on the play as Rodney Peete runs for the first down, outrunning Tony Bennett.
When a flag comes from the far side of the field like that, you always want to think it's either somebody lined up off sides or it's illegal procedure. And here's the replay. Rodney Peete right here. The cameraman gets faked out a little bit with Barry Sanders. And Rodney Peete decides right here, I'm not going to flip it forward. Let's just run through there. And it was offsides against the defense.
And guess who is at least happy on the inside, though he can't display it physically? Willie Peete, the father of Rodney Peete, offensive backfield coach, who greeted his son before the game today.
And I'll tell you who's the most worried and doesn't show it, or will show it, is his mother Edna, who's in the stands watching him scramble around and run around all these big guys. Mother's worry about that. Dad say, oh, he's a big boy, he take care of himself.
1st and 10 for the Lions. Ball at the 32 of the Packers. Going up top for Terry Greer. And he's out of bounds as he catches it, but out of bounds. So Peete putting the ball on the money that time. And Mark Lee right there on top of it.
This is now the 3rd situation where Detroit has caught balls. One was bobbling out of the back of the end zone. Richard Johnson had one where he came in out of bounds. Watch the feet. Out of bounds in the first step, out of bounds in the second step. Now in Canada, that's in by at least 3 or 4 yards.
Which is not too far away from here, but not close enough. 2nd and 10. Ball at the 32. Sanders. And boy, does he have to create his own running room. No blocking at all that time as Weddington wraps him up after a 2-yard gain.
Rodney Peete had an interesting observation the other day when we talked to him. He says, you know, defenses and specifically the outside linebackers aren't dropping into pass coverage until after they see me go past Barry. Last year, guys were coming up field. Defensive ends had come up field. The linebackers had come up field. Not this year. They got burned too many times by Barry Sanders. They're waiting to be sure he's not going to get that ball.
Tampa Bay did an excellent job of it last week. 3rd and 8. Ball at the 30. Complete to Sanders. First down inside the 20. And that's exactly what Wayne Fonts is trying to get more of out of Barry Sanders. Play as a receiver. He could be that much more dangerous.
And here's Barry Sanders. He's just going to swing out here in the backfield, come out here and get hit with a nice quick little pass by Rodney Peete. And this would be a great addition to the Lions passing game if they can get Sanders more and more involved. And he can start putting these moves on guys. Defensive backs don't like to see him in the open field.
No one wants to be embarrassed. We're at the 2-minute mark of the first half. Packers and Lions. Detroit trailing by 3. 2 minutes remaining in the first half. Green Bay on top 10-3. Detroit threatening. Ball at the 19-yard line of Green Bay. And Randy, crucial situation here in that Detroit came away without a touchdown last time. Green Bay 1 timeout remaining. Detroit 2.
Well, their field starts shrinking now for the run and shoot. It's critical they make something happen from a little further out like this. They get closer to the goal line. They have less field to work with.
complete. Down near the 12-yard line, and looked to be Robert Clark on the reception, and it is.
You got to have a lot of confidence in your throwing arm and your receivers if you're throwing a pass out there like that, because if that pass is just a little bit off, it's 6 points the other way.
And Detroit, impressive numbers on this drive, still alive. 2nd and 3, ball marked at the 12 of Green Bay. Richard Johnson in motion. Good block by Barry Sanders. Richard Johnson inside the 5. So the block that gave Rodney Peete the time to complete that one came from Barry Sanders in a 9-yard pickup and a 1st and goal for Detroit.
And here's Barry Sanders not blocking scared. Here's him blocking aggressive against Murphy. 37 comes in, meets Mr. Sanders. Let's take a look at this right here. Rodney Peete wants to come back. Barry just picks him up out of the corner of his eye, stops him long enough, and Richard Johnson's going to make a nice little run, squirting up the field and getting as many yards as he can before he walks out of bounds.
1st and goal from the 3.
Let's look for that quick slant again here from Detroit.
Sanders, touchdown, Detroit. Right side of that line gave him some breathing room that time. He didn't need much. Eddie Murray on for the point after. It's up, and it's good. So the Lions retake the lead as Barry Sanders steps across from the 3. Lions on top 14-10.
Now here's a situation where the defense gets down that close to the end zone. They start getting spread out. They've got an extra lineman in here at tight end. Sanders will take the ball, stretch, and then just zaps right into the end zone for a touchdown behind some fine blocking. Actually, you know what that was? That was a tackle over. They had Eric Andolsick, their left guard, in at right tackle next to Ken Dallafour. You had Salem at tight end, Dallafour at Andolsick at right tackle, and Dallafour at right guard. No contest. They just plowed right through that Green Bay defense. Now that'll give the Green Bay coaches on the defensive side, led by Hank Bullock, a little something to think about, bringing that offensive guard over there, putting him at tackle, then putting the tackle at tight end. That gives you a legitimate goal line type of an offensive front.
Eddie Murray still experiencing difficulty on kickoffs, can't get him deep enough. This one from the 7, Carl Bland. Flushed by Nico Noga.
Nico Noga, brother of Al Noga. Watch him come out as a blur on the left side of your screen. Drives through the receiver, through. Oh, that's great. Love to see those kind of hits on special teams. Usually guys are getting grabbed by the shirt and pulled down. These guys fired up or what? Hey, we're ahead. We want to be 2-2.
Nico Noga, 6'1", 235. Wayne Moore with that momentum coming up in just a few moments at halftime from New York. NFL Today crew, Greg Gumbel and Terry Bradshaw with scores and highlights from around the league. Right here, 1st and 10 for the Pack from their own 21. Mikowski throws complete to the 30-yard line to Clarence Weathers.
This will be a time for Don Mikowski to get a little confidence and pad his stats a little bit, but Detroit is in an extremely deep defense prevent. They're 20 yards off the ball right now in the middle.
1st down to Jeff Query with 37 seconds remaining, in the Pack whistle for their last timeout in the first half with 35 seconds remaining, and Detroit on top by 4. Jeff Query, very fast player, second-year player out of Milliken.
So far this year, he's been a touchdown waiting to happen on punt returns. He's had a couple situations where he's gotten some great blocking, a clean hole. They had 3 home games in a row, the Packers did the last 3 weeks, and he just tripped up on the grass. I mean, there wasn't anybody around him, and he fell down, and boy, was he mad. He was banging the ball and kicking the ground. But this is the guy that's going to be a real impact player, not only on special teams, but also when they work him effectively into this offense. Jerry Holmes, the starting corner for Detroit, says he's their big play guy. You don't worry about Sterling Sharp making the big plays downfield. You worry about Jeff Query because he has that speed.
Fans on hand witnessing a close one here in the first half from the Silverdome. James Brown along with Randy Cross. 14-10 ball game. Lions on top. 35 seconds remaining in the first half. Don Majkowski starting his second game of the 1990 season after a 45-day holdout. Majkowski throws it complete to Herman Fontenot. 2 yards shy of the first down marker. 8-yard pickup on that pass play.
Now they need to get about 20, I would say 20 yards from right here to get effectively inside of Chris Jackie's field goal range. They don't have to go all the way downfield and try for a home run. Majkowski can drag a Query or drag a Sterling Sharp coming from one side across the other and get down right around the 30-yard line. As long as he can get out of bounds, they'll have a chance at a field goal.
Chris Jackie has booted a 53-yarder. That coming this year against the Rams, his career best. Majkowski takes it himself and runs for another inside of the 40. So Majkowski running for the first down. 18 seconds remaining in the first half. Jimmy Williams on the stop. And Majkowski wisely stopping the clock with 13 seconds remaining. So as I mentioned, Chris Jackie, his career best, second-year player out of Texas El Paso, a 53-yarder. That came against the Rams in the Packers' victory, 36-24.
Well, right now it'd be somewhere between 55 and 56 yards if they got it. They've got 13 seconds left. It's probably time for one play to pick up. They have to have a minimum of 5 more yards to get them into the 50 to 51 range, and they have to get out of bounds because they have no timeouts.
2nd and 10 to Fontenot, and Fontenot, the clock still runs, and Green Bay will not get a chance to attempt the field goal because Fontenot did not get out of bounds. No timeouts remaining for Green Bay.
Poor decision by a veteran ball player, Herman Fontenot.
So that's the end of the first half with the score. Detroit 14, Green Bay 10. NFL Today halftime with Greg and Terry coming up. Third quarter here, Detroit on top 14-10, and the pictures coming courtesy of Captain Alan Judd and First Officer William Stufer. And not a small ship there, Randy.
Well, exactly. It's about 60 some odd yards long, 194 feet. I love those shots too. You get from the blimp down on a stadium, indoor stadium like this. This place looks like a hat box on steroids.
A hat box. Well, the hat, the top of the hat itself, somewhat transparent. Oh, boy, it wouldn't be enough room to do your job on the football field. They're 2/3 the size of a football field, but not much room in there.
Exactly. I'm not real big on small places that get up real high.
And Eddie Murray will try to see if he can put aside the pain from that ailing left hip to boot this one a bit further. From the 7, Bland again. He was hit last time by Nico Noga. Flag on a play as Bland is dropped at about the 14 by James Wilder, the recent acquisition from the Washington Redskins. But there is a flag on the play.
And this one will push them down about a 7.5-yard line because I would anticipate a illegal use of hands or a push in the back.
Illegal use of hands, a block in the back, number 23 on receiving team. First down.
All right, Randy, get elementary with me. Illegal use of hands, what is that on a kickoff play?
Well, on a kickoff play, a long time ago, they decided players can't block below the waist. So on a kickoff return, the blockers have got to hit you above the waist, and it's always a case where the guy's running downfield, the other guy's coming for timing across the field, and Tiger Green there, number 23, got caught, instead of pushing him in the front of the body, actually pushing him either on the side of the shoulder or part of the back of the jersey. It's not even worth trying because the officials always catch that.
As a result, Green Bay back at its own 8, complete to Ed West. Ed West looks to have enough for the first down, and big Ed West out of Auburn, 7th-year vet, 6'1", 240.
That's his 6th catch of the year, and 3 of them are for touchdowns. He got one earlier today, and there's a flag down on the play, probably holding.
And that will bring it back again.
Holding, 77 offense, first down.
And that goes against the second-year player, Tony Mandarich. So Green Bay being stymied early here in the third, not by the Detroit Lions, but by their own miscues.
Well, big Tony Mandarich, number 77, there, obviously in his second year, learning to get a good grasp of his technique, as well as his opponent.
No pun intended. Back at the 4 of Green Bay, 1st and 14. Jackie Harris in motion. This is Fullwood. And Keith Ferguson limits him to about 2 on the play.
Oh, Jackie Harris, at the second-string tight end, came in motion, and all they asked him to do on that one is just a wham block on the nose guard. Well, the nose guard happens to be Jerry Ball, who's all of about 6'1", 300 and some odd pounds. That's not a real easy job to ask a tight end to come and do that. Good penetration by Ball on that play right there. He actually disrupted the continuity of that play and enabled his defensive teammates on that side to come in and stop that for a short gain.
Jerry Ball would love to freelance with the Pistons. Talks about his great basketball game. On second down, Fullwood can't get a handle on it. Will bring up 3rd and 11 for the Pack. You see Don Majkowski shaking that hand of his. He hit his hand on the helmet of a KC player last week, Kansas City, Dino Hackett. Had a little problem earlier in the week, but supposedly better now.
I tell you, there weren't too many parts of that man's body right there, number 7, that didn't get hit by the Kansas City defense, that he didn't need the ice by Monday morning. He got beaten up pretty good by that defense.
Dropped 6 times last week. 3rd and 12, call it. Incomplete, intended receiver, Clarence Weathers. And boy, Majkowski tried to thread the needle that time. Dangerous territory. Jimmy Williams was right there along with Ray Crockett.
And right now, Don Majkowski does seem a little bit rusty still. His timing's a little bit off, and you're taking chances like that. You're running the risk of, you know, having your arm trying to write a check your teammates can't cash, you know.
Don Bracken back in his own end zone to punt for the Pack. Mel Gray back for the Lions. Gray from the 40. Inside the 35. A 33-yard punt from Bracken, a 7-yard return by Mel Gray, and the Lions will start with excellent field position. 13:26 remaining in the third. Packers trailing 14-10. This telecast is presented by authority of the National Football League and is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Detroit Lions and the National Football League is prohibited. First and 10 for the Lions. Pete, play action. Intended receiver Aubrey Matthews overthrown, and Randy again an example of the up and down play of Rodney Peete. That an example, wide open guy.
Exactly. He's very disappointed right there, and he was wide open. In fact, he had 2 guys wide open because not only was Clark open, but Richard Johnson was running in the same area, and he was also open.
In basketball, I know if you're shooting from the side of the goal, you try to decide whether it's going to be over the rim or off the backboard, and you kind of get it stuck in between. So classic case there with Rodney with 2 wide open receivers.
And we saw on the sideline there, Mouse Davis and Wayne Fonts with the headsets on, and Andre Ware, the quarterback, he says they got to keep telling me to get back. I keep wanting to get it on the field. I want to play.
2nd and 10. Pete takes it out of bounds down near the 30, a pickup of a couple. You talked about Andre Ware chomping at the bit to get into action. Ran the run and shoot down at the University of Houston last year, of course, and he feels he can step in here and do the job now.
Well, a lot of people would assume that, heck, he ran the run and shoot in Houston. It's the run and shoot up here. It's just like saying I was a passing quarterback at the University of Southern California. I'm going to come to Detroit and be a passing quarterback. It doesn't work like that. It's a different run and shoot. It's a different method. And, you know, Andre Ware is going to get a year or two to sit around, get a little experience, get a little humility, and when Wayne Fontes thinks he's ready, then he's going to put him in.
On 3rd and 8, Pete complete to Greer. First down. Knocked out of bounds at the 10 by Mark Murphy. 21 yards on that pass play from Pete to Greer.
Well, Greer, the ex-49er, came here as a Plan B-er. Came originally to the 49ers out of the Canadian League, where he ran this run and shoot in Canada. Comes out of the screen to the right there, number 89, and then it's just a matter of, well, sorry, Mark Murphy, you can't catch me with that kind of an angle, and he gains another 5 yards just using his speed.
1st and 10 from the 10. Sanders, the ball carrier. Sanders with a pickup of 2 to 3 yards on the play. You talked about Terry Greer, only 2 catches this afternoon, but a whopping 2 catches for a total of 61 yards.
And Sanders right there, it's a good example of his acceleration and his quickness. Looked like he was basically stymied and stopped for no gain, and still manages to eke out a couple of yards. You saw Tampa there was still leading Minnesota 13-3. That would be a major upset.
2nd and 6. Pete with plenty of time. Has open field to run it. Touchdown, Detroit. Rodney Peete.
If there's any way to statistically give away some of your points or your yards on a run, Rodney Peete ought to give something up to Terry Greer, his wide receiver, number 89, who caught that nice pass coming across the middle play before last, right before the Sanders run, and on that one had a great block.
Eddie Murray for the point after. And it's good. Jim Arnold the holder. So Detroit expanding its lead.
Well, Rodney Peete here has enough time to eat a sack lunch, have a couple hot dogs, maybe a nice little Coke or something. He's not getting any pressure. Salem's throwing guys around like crazy. Now he decides to run. Watch Greer on the right side of your screen. We used to refer to a block like that using your posterior as a different kind of block. It was a great effort, and it worked. That's 6 points for Rodney Peete and the Lions.
Well, the score is the reason for the fans cheering. Bland from the 3. At the 15. Great special teams hit by Mark Brown.
We'll take another look at that touchdown. Watch Rodney Peete. Watch Richard Johnson. Peete never takes his eyes off him. Watch their head. Watch Pete's head. He's concentrating on Johnson the entire time. Just runs right through there. Look at him. He never takes his eyes off the guy till he finally decides he's still looking at him. He's still thinking about throwing to him. Now he's deciding to run. Terry Greer's using his backside to push Mark Lee out of the way. That's 6 points.
Green Bay at its own 16, 1st and 10. 10:58 remaining in the 3rd. Darrell Thompson. Toby Castone and Keith Ferguson doing the job. And the fans here at the Silverdome with plenty to cheer about at this point. Only a 2-yard gain. Home of the Detroit Lions since August of 1975, the Silverdome. James Brown along with Randy Cross, the Lions leading it by 11. 10:26 remaining in the third. Green Bay with the ball on 2nd and 9.
And Detroit right now with all the fire and all the momentum. Don Majkowski needs to get a little fire and a little zip going in this Green Bay offense.
Majkowski under pressure from Kevin Brooks. Throws it complete at the 40-yard line, and Perry Kemp this time holds on to it for the first down. 24-yard pass play.
Sorry, JB. And Don Majkowski was very, very close to being downfield on that play. He almost was over the line of scrimmage before he threw that ball.
From a statistical standpoint, if this is a rusty Don Majkowski, then once he does find the groove, he ought to be back in last year's form.
Well, you know, Don Majkowski, you're looking at a quarterback that threw for over 4,000 yards last year. That is a highly unusual stat. It would appear they're going to review this.
And let's mark the time now as the umpire signals it. I guess the question is whether or not perhaps Majkowski was over the line of scrimmage. Looked to be clean. Referee down on the field, Tom Dooley.
So, you know, a lot of people make a common mistake. They say, well, look, what is it? Is it the quarterback's arm? Is it the ball? Is it the quarterback's foot?
Last year, what was it?
Well, they changed the rule this year. It was the ball last year. This year, it is any part of the quarterback's
After further
body.
review, the play will stand as called. It's first down.
They've reviewed it and they've decided that, but it's any part of the quarterback's body is over that line of scrimmage. And here's Majkowski throwing on about the 32-yard line or so. He was not over the line of scrimmage, but it's any part of the quarterback's body. His foot, his hand, the ball, anything.
Play action on first down to Woodside. Woodside flat in the backfield. Give the credit to Michael Kofer, 8th-year linebacker out of Tennessee. And boy, let me tell you, you won't find a more physically fit, well-defined backer in the game than Michael Kofer.
He's in great shape, and that was a great read by Kofer in that case. It was just a quick little screen set up by the Packers, but specifically Rich Moran, the left guard, number 57, couldn't get out there in time to get Kofer, who read the screen so fast he sliced in and never gave the back much of a chance.
Drop for a loss, brings up a 2nd and 13. 2nd and 13. Tampa Bay on Minnesota. Minnesota only 8-7 with Herschel Walker since the trade. Not paying big dividends. Majkowski trying to find some dividends here. Complete to Jackie Harris, the rookie linebacker, make that tight end out of Northeast Louisiana. Stopped by Bruce McNorton. Toronto on top of Boston by 1 that game in the 5th inning. And of course the Mets have to win in order to stay alive. Right now they trail by 2 runs, that one as well in the 5th. And of course if Pittsburgh wins, they can just, it'll be moot. Pittsburgh will clinch. And the National League Championship Series starts Thursday night here on CBS. 3rd and 5. Ball at the 46 of Green Bay. Majkowski looking for Sharp, complete. And forward progress looks to be more than enough for the first down by at least a yard. A 6-yard pass play from Majkowski to Sharp.
You know, here we have Sterling Sharp, number 84, ISO'd against 42, Oldham. He just goes up, knows right where he needs to get for that first down, and settles down right in front of that zone. William White can't fill up there in time to keep him from catching that ball. Nice play call, good execution by a fine veteran wide receiver.
Sharp not as vocal this year.
Nowhere even close. He says he's not talking quite as much as he has in the past.
1st and 10. Majkowski complete to Woodside. 5-yard pass play will bring up a 2nd and 5.
And that was a good case of concentration by Woodside there, and Lindy Infante is expecting some good things out of Woodside, coming back from a preseason injury. But he would, in that case, for you young wide receivers or young backs out there, he looked that ball all the way in. He knew there was a defender on his back. He knew there was people near him that were going to hit him. He looked it all the way in and tucked it before he turned around and looked upfield for an tackler.
Woodside helping Mikowski on this drive. Mikowski 5 of 5 on 2nd and 5. Batted down. Jackie Klein, all 6'5", 280 of them from Alabama. Lions picked him up looking for some healthy bodies.
Well, that's a healthy size body at least. And, you know, it's one of those instances they're not getting that much pressure. Watch this on the outside. Second guy in is Jackie Klein, but watch, nice pocket forms. Klein just can't get there, so he jumps up and knocks the pass down. Mikowski's setting back. Klein's in no real danger of sacking him there, but Mikowski happens to throw it right into one of those big paws Klein put up.
From the 43 of Detroit, 3rd and 5, flag on the play. And Mark Duckins and James Campen looked to be stuck together that time. Keith Euchre, the culprit that time, as you take a look at Lindy Infante.
He's got that look on his face, kind of like what he was telling us last night at the hotel. You know, if it's not an offsides, it's a bad decision by the quarterback. If it's not a bad decision by the quarterback, it's a drop ball. He goes, it's just been that sort of a year so far for the Green Bay offense. It's always something. Something keeps happening, and folks, that is not a happy camper.
Well, he made it quite clear that offensively his team is not in sync, but he said, hey, the problems we suffer from, nothing that a victory can cure. 3rd and 10. Mikowski, flag on the play, loses the ball, live ball, looks to be Detroit, and it is. Tracy Hayworth, the rookie out of Tennessee, recovering the fumble.
And we've got a flag down on the field, James, and it looked like Sterling Sharp jumped offsides just before the snap.
Well, that shot of Lindy Infante said it all. So it stays Lions ball.
Now we can't see Sharp on the outside moving, but watch this ball get slapped out of Don Mikowski's hands. He's trying to move up. He doesn't get slapped. He just flat out drops it. And Tracy Hayworth just drops right on top of it. That's one of those self-destructing dumb.
So the Green Bay defense back on the field. 1st and 10 from midfield. Pete. Incomplete. Intended receiver Aubrey Matthews. And the ball is dead. And so is Rodney Peete.
Well,
Well, Randy, I guess the sum and substance here, if you turn the ball over, you can't expect to win, and that certainly has hurt Green Bay early.
Exactly, and that's what Lindy Infante was telling us. It's been these turnovers, and it's been the mistakes as far as mental mistakes, assignments, jumping off sides, things like that. I mean, everybody makes an awful lot of this plus and minus and turnovers, and some people kind of poo-poo it and say, that's no big deal. Plus and minus on your turnovers is very, very important, and right now Green Bay is way behind. They have 10 in the first 3 games.
2nd and 10. Pete, feeling the pressure, lets it go. He throws it incomplete in the direction of Richard Johnson. On the last play, Aubrey Matthews came off to the sidelines looking as if that right shoulder or that left shoulder of his had really been whacked pretty good, and he's over in the sidelines being tended to. The shoulder and also right in the bicep area.
Oh, exactly. Well, he was hung out there pretty good by that pass. He was concentrating on the throw, and Jerry Holmes, number 44, came in and put a helmet right on his shoulder. You know, that could be kind of a situation where a wide receiver gets a bit of a stinger. It gets a bit of a nerve. You see the trainer's working on him there. He's got his arm under the sleeve, and he's just trying to check out how bad exactly it is.
Jason Phillips in. Wide receiver on 3rd down. Incomplete. Intended receiver Terry Greer. And Mark Lee applying the hit.
Well, you see that look on Terry Greer's face. I guess he got poked in the eye or something. That pretty much sums up that last series for the Detroit Lions. It was sort of an uninspired, tired looking kind of a play.
Mark Lee.
That's Mark Lee, the veteran cornerback, number 22 down.
Well, the toll not only taken by the receiver or intended receiver, but the hittee as well can receive just as much.
we need to watch the very end of this right here and look for lead number 22. Now lead number 22 is right here. Now concentrate on that. That's the thing to look for. Lee's going to be running. I'm sorry, he's coming out of the right side of the screen. Ooh, his own guy got him. Mark Murphy come in there and put a shoulder right into the side of his neck. It's kind of a delayed reaction on that one. People talk all the time about stingers and pinched nerves. That looks like the kind of situation where you get in there, somebody gives you that shot. You saw him sit up at first and seem like there's nothing wrong, but it's kind of a delayed reaction. That thing really starts settling in. That if it is a pinched nerve, really gets down into your arm, gets up into your neck, into your ear. So you see him gets up there, and now all of a sudden he starts to realize, hey, this doesn't feel very good. Matter of fact, I think I'll lay down.
A stinger.
A stinger.
Jim Arnold on the punt for the Lions. A good high one. Boy, special teams down to cover, and that's the time there. And inside the 5 is Ray Crockett. Downs it near the 3-yard line. A 46-yard punt. So Frank Gans' special teams unit performing well. With the Lions on top by 11, that is the look of a man whose unit is on the field quite a bit. Hank Bullough, the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers.
And look, he's got his game plan with a shoestring tied through it, hanging off his belt. Some guys sticking it in their belt. That's a great little invention. He might be able to patent that thing for coaches. Where do you put those things when you're not looking at them?
From its own 3, Green Bay, 1st and 10. Fullwood. Flag on the play as Fullwood gets up near the 7. And maybe a holding call down here.
It would appear to be a holding inside. There were several large bodies in blue being put down on the ground rather aggressively.
Holding, 65 offense, first down.
Well, that's on the veteran Ron Halston, 9th-year player out of Iowa.
6'6", 300 pounds. What's somebody that big got a hold for?
In the meantime, for you Detroit Lions fans, Aubrey Matthews taken to the locker room for x-rays of that left arm of his. As soon as we get a report, we'll pass it along. 1st and 11 from the 2 of Green Bay. Bukowski going for the home run ball to Sterling Sharp. Incomplete as Leroy Irvin step for step. And Green Bay hasn't had great field position very often the last several series.
And that's one of the strengths of the Detroit Lions. We keep talking about Frank Gans. Frank Gans, their special teams coach. They tend to pin people back. Jim Arnold, number 6, is a fine punter, and their coverage guys have gotten down, and they nailed that ball inside the 5 twice now. Now, that's very, very key. Even if Green Bay manages to get a first down here, they're going to get the ball back, they being Detroit, about the 50-yard line with another opportunity. Last time they got it in good position and wasted it.
That was a shot of Frank Gans, the special teams coordinator, on 2nd and 11. Bukowski has to get rid of it. Some of the fans want an intentional grounding here.
There's an example, James. The referee's job is to take care of the quarterback and to watch the quarterback. He never took his eyes off of John Bukowski to be sure he wasn't hit late, and by doing that was not able to see that there was not a receiver within 20 yards of that ball. That was intentionally thrown out there, and it was a play, I believe, where you could call intentional grounding in the end zone, which would be a safety.
Give the credit pressure-wise to Dennis Gibson, the right inside linebacker, and Jimmy Williams, the left outside linebacker of the Lions. 3rd and 11. Fontenot, complete. Short of the first down, and a late flag. Personal foul here.
James, I think even without that flag, it's going to be pretty close to a first down.
Well, that's on Bruce McNorton, so that'll give Green Bay the first down.
Detroit seemed to have just wasted a golden opportunity to keep them down inside, keep the Packers inside down. Watch McNorton come in from the right. He'll be number 29. Okay, Jimmy Williams hits him. White hits him. Oh, clearly down. Good call by the officials. A little bit too aggressive. And there's Wayne asking for another interpretation. And the official would seem to be giving him a very animated explanation.
Wayne accepts it. 1st and 10 for the Pack. Ball at the 27 of Green Bay. 4:19 remaining in the 3rd. Packers trailing by 11 and flags on the play. And we have some extracurricular going on. These guys will be thrown out. Look to be Rich Moran and maybe Kevin Brooks.
Now, when you get a minute to think about it, how much are these two big guys going to hurt each other, punching each other in the head? All you're going to do is hurt your hand on the helmet. These guys, they're trying to grab each other's face masks. They're trying to punch each other in the head and punch each other in the stomach. Why the heck do you think you wear all those pads? You aren't going to hurt somebody in a... I mean, they're not exactly dressed for a street fight.
Well, a little house cleaning to do here for Tom Dooley.
We have a false start on the offense. We have offsetting penalties. 57 on Green Bay, 97 on Detroit, are disqualified.
So indeed, that is the explanation. Both Kevin Brooks and Rich Moran being thrown out as you take a look at Wayne Fontes lecturing Kevin Brooks. And Rich Moran, the 6th-year vet out of San Diego State, knowing better.
Now here's Brooks, here's Moran. Watch what happens here. A little bit of an emotional conflict, you might say. Brooks is getting frustrated. He takes the first swing. Moran hits second. See, the problem there is hitting back. You start hitting back, you're going to be the guy that gets caught, and it's going to get frustrated. I mean, Moran didn't start that, but he's no less out of the game right now than Brooks is. That's really a lack of poise. It's a lack of concentration. And to be honest with you, it's a lack of concern for your teammates. This is not the time to get thrown out of a game.
Well, Randy, we know, at least from conversations with some of the Packers last night, that there is some frustration amongst Lindy and Fonte's offensive linemen, the veterans who want more playing time, like Moran and Halston.
Well, Billy Ard told us, you know, we've got 9 guys on our offensive line, and all 9 guys have been starters and want to be starters.
Take a look at Rich Moran heading off. 1st and 15 for the Pack. In the direction of Sterling Sharp, trapped by Leroy Urban. So Leroy Urban looks to be playing inspired defense here, trying to get those veteran legs to show some youth.
Well, this is a situation that's going to be a real challenge for Don Majkowski. He hasn't been in these game situations, so in his 2nd week, he's just going to have to call something up from deep down inside in his gut and rally this team back, because the Packers right now, the most emotion and the most fire the Packers have shown in this half is when Rich Moran got in a fight with Kevin Brooks just now, and he got thrown out of the game.
2nd and 15 from its own 22. Majkowski complete to Sharp. Well shy of the 1st down marker by about 8 yards. Pushed out of bounds by Chris Oldham. 7-yard pickup on a play will bring up a 3rd and 8. Cowboys have scored. By the way, Phil Simms has been pulled out of the game there because of the pad the Giants are enjoying over the Cowboys. And for those of you following baseball, the Mets have moved ahead by 1 run. A little credit to a 2-run homer by Andre Dawson. 3rd and 2. Was a trap? Incomplete. Clarence Weathers, the intended receiver, and the official right on top of the play.
We talked earlier about field position, James, and though Green Bay naturally would have loved to driven down and gotten points out of any drive, they did a very effective job there of pushing the ball out and getting their punter some time to get the ball downfield. Here's the catch again. Ball hits the ground first. Good call by the referees. But now Don Bracken, number 17, has a chance to pin Detroit back. Very critical here. He doesn't kick the ball low and directly to Mel Gray. He should go to the corners and keep it away from Gray. Gray is dangerous.
Gray from the 24. Dropped at about the 29. So Detroit will take over. Ball marked at its own 29, leading it by 11. 5,000 fans can have some fun when the home team is leading by 11. 2:42 remaining in the third. And Randy Cross admitted that he was in error earlier. Let me correct something. New York leading Chicago 3-2. I mentioned on the strength of an Andre Dawson home run. And of course he plays for Chicago. And of course we will see the National League Championship Series right here on CBS next Thursday, prime time. 1st and 10 for the Lions. Ball at the 30. Sanders using his speed and juke moves to create something again out of nothing. Only 3 yards on the play. But Hank Bulla, in talking about Barry Sanders, says he has that ability to create something out of nothing.
He said he had a play against us last year. It was one of the greatest runs I've ever seen. He made 6 or 7 of our guys miss him on 1 run and gained 1 yard. He says, but it's still, I don't care. One of the greatest runs I have ever seen a running back make. And Barry Sanders can do that, but this is a critical situation here, I think, for Hank Bulla and his defense. They've got to stuff Detroit here and let the offense get another chance. Let the offense get a little fire and get them back in this game.
Number 33 on 2nd and 7. Flag on a play, complete to Greer. And Greer up near the 45-yard line. But there is a flag on the play. And judging by Timmy Harris's reaction, it is indeed against Detroit.
Well, Harris has done an
Holding 60 offense. 2nd down.
That's Mike Utley, 2nd-year player out of Washington State.
Harris has done very little cheerleading today. Normally you get a game with him, you want to get a pair of pom-poms out for him. Here's Utley, the right guard. Harris, 97. Let's see what Mr. Utley, let's see what the infraction actually was here. Gets a hold of him. He's got a 7. Oh, he's got all of that 7 in his hand. Then he's got his foot. Then he has his leg. Yeah, that was holding. Yeah. Look at all the pads Utley's wearing underneath that jersey. He's got kidney pads. He's got shoulder pads. My goodness.
And the official doing some house cleaning asked that the clock be reset to 2:11, and indeed it is. 2:11 remaining in the third. Lions on top 21-10. 2nd and 17. Sack. First sack of the afternoon suffered by Rodney Peete. And give the credit to Burnell Dent, 5th-year player out of Tulane.
Well, we'll see Dent here, number 56, a little left to center, standing up right here. Now, this has got to be the responsibility of an offensive lineman. You can't let a linebacker like this, he's reading the play, he's watching Barry Sanders, he reads it's going to be a block. I'm sorry, it's not the Lions' fault. It would appear to be that was probably Mr. Sanders' man. He overran his responsibility and could not get back in time to block Burnell Dent.
Small size hurt him that time. He couldn't see over his lineman. 3rd and 23. And Peete just gets it away in time to Jason Phillips. And Phillips, hog tie by Jerry Holmes. Will not be nearly enough for the first down. Pressure applied that time by Scott Stephen.
Green Bay is getting much more effective pass rush on Rodney Peete. More pressure. What the key to stopping the run and shoot from a pressure standpoint is, you've got to fool them in the first 3 steps. If you can disguise your coverages, you can disguise what you're doing in the first 3 steps, the quarterback can't make that quick decision and throw. He must sit back there a little longer, and then instead of being a weapon, he becomes a target the longer he's back there.
Well, the weapon for Green Bay back there is Jeff Query. waiting to receive the Jim Arnold punt. From the 29, Query. Run out of bounds at the 38. A 47-yard punt, 10-yard return, 4-4 hang time. And we're live from the Silverdome. Beautiful outside. Good action on the inside. Detroit Lions leading it 21-10. James Brown along with Randy Cross, and these two teams come into today's action records of 1-2, three-way tie in the NFC Central for third place. And I tell you, Minnesota, boy, surprising that this team was expected to do even better. Right now, they were losing the last score we saw to Tampa Bay.
Exactly. It's going to be a wild finish in the AFC Central. But we talked at the top of the show about the Packer offense against the defense of Detroit. And so far in this game, the Packer offense has lacked the emotion and the execution necessary to win a game like this.
Gary Kemp completed from Don Majkowski, and depending upon the spot, close to the first down marker. As the clock winds down toward the end of the third quarter here. And the spot is a good one. That will be a first down for Green Bay, and they'll have that first down to start the fourth quarter. That's the end of the third quarter with the score: Detroit 21, Green Bay 10. All coverage will continue after this message from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Pictures and sounds for today's telecast coming to you courtesy of the CBS compound just outside of the Silverdome. The Nerve Center, our remote Nerve Center, if you will, just on the outskirts here of the Silverdome. And on the inside, good action indeed as the Lions enjoy a 21-10 lead as we start the fourth quarter. James Brown along with Randy Cross. This is Don Majkowski on first down. Complete to Keith Woodside. And Woodside to the 44. Well, Randy, we talked about the importance of getting a victory today for both teams. 1-3 starts don't cut it.
Well, especially look at all those teams 1-2 there. Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota. There are what, 8 1-2 teams in the NFC, 3 undefeated, 2 are 2-1, like Tampa is right there. If Tampa can go to 3-1, that's going to be a major blow to these two teams right here, starting out 1-3. Both of these teams were allegedly playoff teams coming into this season. You know, I think you almost have to not write off, but these guys will have a heck of an uphill battle of whichever one of these teams end up 1-3.
2nd and 3, complete for the first down to Sterling Sharp. So Majkowski finding Sharp for the first down inside the 35. 9-yard pickup on the play.
Sterling Sharp is having one of those days that people expect from Sterling Sharp. He's getting quite a few catches. We see Herb Welch, number 28, out of UCLA there, holding his left arm. But when you don't play a lot, like Herb Welch has not played a lot in the past. He was with the Giants, didn't play much. He was kind of a backup. Now he's at Detroit. He's only in there right now because Benny Blades is banging up and on IR. You got to get hurt pretty bad before you come out. When you don't get a chance to get in there often, you got to have something almost falling off your body to come out of the game.
1st and 10 from the 35 of Detroit. Majkowski complete to Big Ed West for the first down. And Ed West having himself a good season. 2nd catch of the ball game.
Now watch his protection on the offensive line here, and West is just going to get out here in an open area and pick up a nice pass from Don Majkowski. The offense to this point is executing well on this drive. They're moving the ball like they need to. They're getting it down the field. They're not being flashy. They're taking what's given to them. Now would be a time where you'd expect a mental mistake or an error. If they don't make it, I think Green Bay can score a touchdown on this drive.
On first down, Majkowski throws it complete to Jackie Harris, the other tight end. And they say he was bobbling the ball, so it's out of play and incomplete. Harris, rookie out of Northeast Louisiana, 6'3", 240.
Now let's join in. The officials have the luxury of being there live. We're there a little bit later. And he is definitely bobbling that ball. By the time he gets control, his knees are on the ground. Majkowski knows that should have been a catch. Well, okay, that's all right. He's a rookie. Let's do it again.
Nickel defensive package in for the Lions. Ray Crockett, the 5th DB. 2nd and 10 from the 21 of Detroit. Mikowski flushed out of the pocket inside the 10 to about the 6-yard line. So Mikowski with the 14 to 15-yard run.
You know, Mikowski's not a flashy runner. He is a leader. He's the kind of guy you like to play for if you're an offensive player. You look at him, he's got that kind of different look to him. Can't even describe it. The great ones have that different look to them when they play. They just kind of command attention. Don Mikowski commands attention. You're not going to get out any highlight films or training films watching him run. I mean, he's out there trying to make moves. Looks like he's pulling muscles.
A real athlete. 4 rushes for 70 yards. 1st and goal. Ball at the 6. 11:55 remaining in the game. Forward. Gain of maybe 2.
And Brent Fullwood getting down into that critical part of the field where he has problems in the past.
And he knows it.
I know. I did a game last year with Tim Ryan, the Rams and the Green Bay Packers, which the Rams ended up winning 41-38. He fumbled in a critical situation. Last week against Kansas City, he fumbled on the 1-yard line. And his coach, Coach Pete, told us last night, you know, it's starting to bug this guy a little bit. He's thinking about fumbling the ball.
Do you give it to him in a crucial situation like this, knowing that? Play action. Mikowski under pressure. Throws it complete. Touchdown. Michael Haddix. So the man on the Packers, who Coach Infante says is the best blocking guy amongst the running backs, catches one for the touchdown.
There were 3 Green Bay Packers out there. There was Michael Haddix. There was Jackie Harris, number 80. And we'll see Haddix right here. But also keep an eye on this gentleman right here. Hallstrom, number 65, is playing at tight end. He's out there. If you're a coach, you know what your biggest worry is right here? Mikowski gets rid of the ball. It's a nice throw, and the extra point is good. But Mikowski throws the ball up there, and you're going to see these guys. All of a sudden, there's 3 guys out there with 1 defender. But watch Hallstrom, that left tight end right there. He's going to get out there. If you're an offensive coach, you're thinking, oh God, don't go for the ball. Don't do it. Look at him. Look, he's going, oh, I should have had it. Look at that guy. It's an offensive lineman's dream. He saw those hands go out, and common sense took over. He said, I'll let the...
As Chris Jackie kicks it off for Green Bay, Mel Gray from the 5. Across the 30. Out of bounds near midfield. So the man who's the NFL's leading kickoff returner showing you why. And Randy, as you take a look at the numbers here, some pretty impressive statistics from the big players in today's game, but get inside of those stats. I mean, do they mean an awful lot?
Well, Sanders is effective running the ball. You know, Rodney Peete has not been very effective throwing the ball, but the running game has made up for that. I think what Detroit has done very effectively so far until that last drive is they have shut down the Green Bay offense pretty well. Now, the Green Bay's offense was efficient. They were running their type of offense, and they were running the ball very good.
Well, the most important stat, Detroit ahead by 4 with 10:48 remaining. And Peete, with all kinds of time, throws it complete to Greer, who has the first down inside the 40. Brought down by Mark Lee.
Rodney Peete had all day back there. Great protection by the offensive line. And all Greer was really doing, he sort of came off the line of scrimmage and stood there for 3 or 4 seconds and finally figured out I'm the only open guy out here.
Detroit at the 38 of Green Bay. Long count by Peete. Sanders. So about the 32. Caught on a 6-yard pickup by Barry Sanders, who's inching toward the 100-yard rushing mark. 9:38 remaining in the contest. And that one is a final. Giants over the Cowboys. Jack Trudeau starting in place of the injured Jeff George, and Tampa Bay now trailing Minnesota. So the Vikings caught fire down the stretch. 2nd and 4 from the 32 of Green Bay. Jason Phillips in motion. Sanders.
This is the part of the game Detroit can afford to be a little bit more methodical now. They don't have to take as many chances. They've got that ball going. They're going to run up as much of this clock as they possibly can.
Ball marked at the 29 of the Packers will bring up a 3rd and 1 situation. Greer to the near side. Jason Phillips in the slot. And a flag dropped before the play is run. False start signaled against Lomas Brown, who's back in. And Lomas, the 6th-year veteran out of Florida, shaking his head knowing, hey, as a vet, I'm not supposed to make those kind of mistakes.
And that offsides moves things out of the realm of a short dive over the pile for a 1st down into probably a safe type of a pass. It also puts him at the outside of Eddie Murray's field goal range.
Brings up a 3rd and 6 specifically. Sanders dropped by Burnell Dent, assistant Scott Stevens. Maybe a yard on the play only.
And Eddie Murray's coming onto the field. It'll be an approximately a 50-yard attempt for Murray.
Eddie Murray's career longest is 54. Did it twice. The last time against the San Francisco 49ers, but that back in 1983 playoff game in December. This will be a 50-yard field goal attempt. It's up. And it's no good. So Eddie Murray comes up with his 2nd miss of the afternoon.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? AT&T, the right choice. And by Keystone and Keystone Light, bottled beer taste in a can. Wouldn't that be great?
7:24 remaining in this contest as Wayne Fontes watches his defense in action after that big penalty on Lomas Brown moved Eddie Murray out of field goal range. The Packers take over. Good field position from their own 33. Majkowski on 1st down. Throws it complete to Kemp, who's across midfield at the 49 of Detroit.
And Don Majkowski's starting to get kind of the feel back. You know, he's throwing some of these passes in the last 2 possessions now by Green Bay, where he's kind of getting that bounce back in his step like, yeah, I remember this. This is how I throw those passes. This is how I make these comebacks happen.
You know, I really found it interesting. You mentioned before that short of him during his holdout standing out on the freeway to get accustomed to the pressure, there's nothing like being here and feeling it and getting hit.
Oh, exactly. You cannot reproduce a football situation when you're holding out and you're not around a football game.
Play action on 1st down. Majkowski complete again to Kemp, who loses the ball. It's live, and it looks like Detroit has recovered. And Tony Mandarich slow getting up off of the field on that one as Detroit recovers the loose ball.
Lindy Infante, no doubt, asking for that to be reviewed and take another look at it, because his point would probably be here, Majkowski's throwing this ball, is that Kemp did not have possession long enough. Au contraire, he had that ball long enough to get both feet down on the ground. That was a possession, and that was a fumble. Big play.
And a wicked hit applied by William White, 3rd-year player out of Ohio State. Fumble recovered by Dennis Gibson of Iowa State.
And a good afterthought. Did you see Don Majkowski diving in there after that ball? That's the kind of quarterback he is. That's why these guys love this guy. They'll do anything for Don Majkowski.
They say he's a quarterback and has a lineman's mentality.
Yeah. I mean, you put another 7 on him, he and Tony Mandrich. He looks like Tony Mandrich with all the water taken out of him.
I don't think the fans would have stood for anything but that kind of decision on that replay.
We'll see it again. Now watch Kemp get the ball. He's got it. 1, 2. 2 feet clearly down and on the ground, and the ball is coming loose as soon as William White hits him. That ball's coming out of there.
Back to live action. Detroit 1st and 10 from midfield with 6:20 remaining in the contest. Pete going to his 3rd option. Clark complete inside the 40 to about the 37-yard line. Good enough for the 1st down. So Robert Clark using good moves to pick up the 1st down.
I'll say one thing for these little wide receivers like Clark and Johnson and Phillips and Matthews. They don't mind catching that ball on the outside and going inside where those linebackers live. I mean, these guys are only 5'6", 5'7", 5'8". You'd think they'd want to stay out there by the sidelines where things are safe, but they're going in there. Makes Brian Noble, 91, miss. Holland, number 50, had a shot at him. Nobody could get him. Good gutsy move.
1st and 10 from the 37 of Green Bay. Terry Greer to the near side. Johnson in motion. Sanders, the ball carrier. And Sanders, 5-yard run down to about the 32. Dent and Weddington on the stop. 5:14 and counting remaining in the contest. Green Bay trailing by 4.
And Barry Sanders, after being sort of stifled for the first 3 weeks of the season, so far today has 17 carries and 92 yards. It's what Detroit wanted to do. They wanted to get the running game going, get the pressure off having to make the quarterback pass every single down.
He's created a lot of his own holes. 2nd and 5. Sanders tried to scoot by Mike Weddington. Weddington holding on for dear life. Still a pickup of 2 on the play.
That was another example. Weddington was clearly unblocked. Nobody even near him. But when you're trying to tackle a Barry Sanders, you have to be a little bit more hesitant. You have to be careful. Because if you can miss a tackle on Barry Sanders, you might be the last guy with a chance to tackle him.
And counting. 3rd and 2 from the 30. And Sanders. That play read, diagnosed, and dropped. Mike Weddington got him in the backfield. A loss of 4 on the play.
Nobody's so good and quick and active that as soon as you get the ball in your stomach and you get the handoff, that they can get a chance just to get right in your face. Weddington's going to come in from out of here. He never has a chance, Barry Sanders. As soon as Pete gives him the ball, Weddington's all over him.
Randy, when you look for fallacies, I guess, or flaws in the running shoot, from a running back standpoint, without having that blocking back there,
I don't know. I think, the run and shoot's getting so much attention. Everybody's looking for a flaw. Now, Murray was short and right from 50 earlier. He's going to try one now from the left hash mark from 51.
And that one is no good. Now, the last time that Murray missed 3 in a game, November 1st, 1987. 3 misses today.
A psychological thriller.
And right now, we've got a thriller here. 4 points separating these two. Lions on top. 1st and 10 for the Pack. To Haddix, complete. Knocked out of bounds at the 37.
And this is a situation like last year. Green Bay has to remember how to come back, remember how to win these tight games. Majkowski has to call upon his last year's experience and lead these guys now. Now is not the time to get kind of uptight, maybe panic a little bit, take a chance, make a throw. Now is the time when Don Majkowski earns his $1.5 million salary.
Plenty of time with 3 minutes remaining, 2nd and 6. the pocket. Blocked. Sack credited to Michael Kofor, and it looks like Kofor might be the one down on the ground. And boy, did they all meet at the quarterback.
Oh, exactly. We'll take another look at it here and see exactly maybe how this happened. Mikowski was jumping up and around. You'll see Kofor come out from the left-hand side of the screen. When Mikowski sets back to pass, is getting fairly good protection, decides to go. Now watch Kofor 55 just come in here diving at him. Here's Kofor right here. He's diving in. He's going to get hit from here. He's diving out. He's exposed. Bingo.
Ooh, boy, didn't like to see that neck go back that way. And Kofor, as we mentioned before, 6'5", 245, and I mean a tightly compacted 245.
It doesn't matter how good a condition you're in. Doesn't matter how hard you're playing. You get hit like that anywhere around the head area, you just sort of turn out the lights and go to sleep for a while.
Kofor, of course, came into the pro ranks as a defensive end. Moved to a linebacker back in '85, and he's been a good one for the Lions. Super human being.
You know, people forget it. Everybody thinks Chris Dolman was the guy who came into the league out of Pittsburgh from Minnesota, and he became a defensive end. Kofor did exactly the opposite. He came into the league as a defensive end. He was so quick, but he was a little bit undersized. Great decision by the Lion management, putting him outside, getting his hand off the ground, and giving him a little bit better look at the game. And there's Dennis Gibson, number 98, the inside linebacker who delivered that blow to Mike Kofor.
And that is a good sight to see. Kofor up under his own power here. And
okay, here comes Gibson out of the right-hand side of the screen. Here's Kofor. They're going to meet somewhere around in here, with the winner being Gibson. See, Mikowski had the luxury of seeing Gibson coming. He ducked. Kofor didn't get to see Gibson coming. He didn't duck. I had something like this happen to me, James, back in 1981. We were playing the Cowboys. D.D. Lewis intercepts a pass. I'm going to make a tackle. Last thing I remember is seeing D.D. Lewis's knee hit me in the head. Trainer asked me, "What's the score?" I said, 7-0. He says, "Look at the scoreboard." It was 42-28.
here it's 3rd and 7 for Green Bay. Mikowski. Complete to Clarence Weathers. First down in Detroit territory. Run out of bounds by Ray Crockett.
That is a great case of hand-eye coordination right there. Crockett was all over Weathers. This ball, watch this right here. He gets good protection and all this other stuff, but watch where Mikowski drops this ball in on top of Crockett and Weathers. Weathers no sooner turns around out of this route. Right here, the ball is there. You have any idea how little time that was from the time he turned his head to the time that ball was on top of him?
Great adjustment by Clarence Weathers. Good ball game here in the Silverdome. 21-17, Detroit lead with 2:24 remaining. 1st and 10, Mikowski. Decides to take it. No, throws it for Sharp. He was down, but there's a flag on a play.
He was definitely downfield on that play. He was past the line of scrimmage.
And Mikowski over there discussing it with the line judge, but line judge calmly all on top of that one. So the play comes back.
Critical error here by Mikowski. It's wide open in front of Don. He should have run right here. He spots him. Look at the ref at the bottom of the screen. Number 11. That is where the line of scrimmage was on the 34. He made it to about the 33 by the time he let that ball go.
I'll tell you, in the past year and a couple of games, there can't have been anyone else in the league who's violated that rule more than Don Mikowski.
Well, he got much celebrated violation of that rule last year in the big game at Green Bay and Chicago, where the last play of the game, they must have replayed that thing 30 times, but it didn't matter. It was counted as a touchdown, and Green Bay won.
2nd and 14 from the 39 of Detroit. 2:13 remaining. Mikowski being chased by Owens. And he's going to be shy of the first down marker. A gang of blue shirts, Kofor, Owens, Welch, and Irvin, all converging. And moving slow here, Billy Ard, 10th-year veteran out of Wake Forest, ex-Giant, and hobbling. Right knee.
Definitely the right leg. You get caught in these passing situations with his body's running all over the place and guys are throwing down and people are being knocked onto the ground. Invariably, offensive linemen get somebody lands on the side of their leg or the back of their leg, and hopefully it won't be too bad. Bill Ard's being a stockbroker in the offseason out of Wake Forest. Class gentleman, lives in North New Jersey. Says he'll make his living in the stock exchange when he's done playing ball.
11-yard pickup brings up 3rd and 3 from the 27 of Detroit. Complete for the first down to Clarence Weathers inside the 20. And we're inside of the 2-minute mark. And Green Bay is threatening, trailing the Lions by 4. 1:59 remaining in the contest. Detroit leading 21-17, but Green Bay at the 19-yard line of Detroit with the first down. Both teams full complement of timeouts. And Randy, do you get fancy here or do you stay with what got you to this point?
The last 3 drives, even the one with the turnover last time by Perry Kemp, I think the Packers have got the idea. They're being very conservative. They're taking the thing short and underneath. They should keep doing exactly that. And they're in 4 wide receivers here.
Mikowski running it inside the 15, down near the 11. And that's what makes Don Mikowski so dangerous. 7 rushes for 90 yards on the afternoon for Don Mikowski.
And they're going without a huddle right here, trying to catch him off guard. Nope, now they're going to pop back in the huddle.
Brings up a 2nd and 2 situation for the Pack. Ball marked at the 11 of Detroit. 1:27 and counting.
They're giving Detroit a little taste of their own medicine, giving them the 4 wide receivers and spreading them out down here in the red zone area towards the goal line. Look for a crossing pattern.
Mikowski out of the shotgun. Kofor pressing him along with Hayward. And Mikowski throws it incomplete. Now, they say he was in the grasp. They say he was in the grasp. Back at the 26-yard line.
Sterling Sharp is wide open, but Mikowski never has a chance to get at him because Tracy Hayworth, number 99, gets him by the jersey, and by interpretation of the referee there, Tom Dooley, he is in the grasp and control of Tracy Hayworth for the sack.
We'd like to welcome those of you who've been watching the NFL postgame show here at the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. James Brown along with Randy Cross, and Detroit leading the Packers 21-17 with 1:04 remaining in regulation. Green Bay kind of erratic through the day, but has the ball down at the 26-yard line of Detroit. A sack on the last play, but Green Bay still threatening.
That was a critical breakdown by the right side of the offensive line for the Green Bay Packers, because Sterling Sharp, who lined up on the right-hand side, was crossing across the middle at about the 3-yard line. He was wide open, but Mikowski was getting the pressure from Ferguson, number 77, and Tracy Hayworth, number 99, and Hayworth got the jersey on him and got him in the grasp and control. If not for that pressure, I think Green Bay scores on that play because Sterling Sharp didn't have anybody around him.
Green Bay will be faced with a 3rd and 17 situation here. Wayne Fontes and Infante both in must-win situations.
The key here is putting pressure on Don Mikowski.
Complete to Jeff Query. Touchdown, Green Bay. No flag on the play as Don Mikowski, showing the magic from last year, finds Jeff Query, the 2nd-year player out of Milliken.
And Don Majkowski paid the price on that play. He took one right in the chops. As soon as he threw that thing off, it was a great leaping play by Query because he didn't even look like he was the receiver that the ball was thrown to. He just sort of leaped into the ball's path and caught it.
Chris Jackie on for the point after. It's up. And it's good. So Green Bay retakes the lead. 55 seconds remaining in regulation, leading at 24-21.
Like I said, Jeff Query makes a very, very nice play here. Don Majkowski gets good protection, steps up, and at the last minute, he really did get popped. And there's Query on the sidelines celebrating with his teammates. But watch for Query. He's going to come out of the left side of the screen. Now watch it right here. Majkowski gets hit. He's going down. Now it looks like the ball is going to Perry Kemp. Query dives in through. I'm sorry, Aubrey Matthews. Query dives through there and makes a fantastic catch. Possibly the biggest play of his young career.
Majkowski 6 of 6 for 89 yards on this drive before finding Jeff Query, who is the fastest of the Green Bay Packer receivers. Mel Gray, NFL's leading kickoff returner, coming into today's game, 38-yard average. Last scoring drive, 9 plays, 66 yards, 2:14 off of the clock. Time remaining now 55 seconds, and Mel Gray, the dangerous kickoff returner, back for the Lions.
You got to look for them to put the ball on the ground and not let Mel Gray return this.
And Gray takes it from the 10. Slips one and dropped at the 25. So the Lions will take over with 49 seconds remaining. Ball at their own 26-yard line. Lions trailing by 3.
Now in this situation, it does not matter which offense you're running. If you're running the wishbone or the run and shoot. This is critical, long distance passing every single time. This is pure nickel. One thing Green Bay will not be beaten deep.
4 wideouts. Jason Phillips in the slot to the near side. Terry Greer at the bottom of your screen. Phillips in motion. Pete. And Rodney Peete displaying his agility. Runs for the first down. 40 seconds remaining.
One thing to keep in mind, James, too, for everybody out there, Detroit has the luxury of only getting into field goal range. Eddie Murray has missed 3 so far today, so with his leg hurting him a little bit, you got to figure that Detroit needs to get down the field about another 30 yards to about the 30-yard line, get him around 47 yards. That could be inside Eddie Murray's range. So they can go for a field goal and tie the game. They don't have to have a touchdown.
Murray has missed 3 on the afternoon. The last time he did that, November 1st, 1987. Peete throwing complete to Robert Clark, who gets out of bounds about 3 yards shy of the first down marker. 35 seconds remaining. And Eddie Murray, just to embellish that point, suffering with an ailing left hip that has prevented him from kicking off long on kickoffs, as well as being accurate with his field goal attempts.
Kickers are funny like that. They put more of their body into kickoffs. It doesn't affect that as much as doesn't affect field goals as much as it does kicking off. He can make it 47-yarder. Those last 2 field goals haven't been that short.
But nonetheless misses. 2nd and 3. Peete going up top for Greer. Incomplete. 29 seconds remaining. Mark Lee step for step with Terry Greer, the ex-49er.
And this is definitely a 4-down situation for Detroit, so they have 2 more downs to make the necessary 2 or 3 yards to get this first down.
We'll bring up a 3rd and 3 as you take a look at Hank Bullock, the defensive coordinator for the Packers. Peete with time. Complete to Greer for the first down. And the clock continues to tick as he did not get out of bounds. Timeout call. So Detroit now has 2 timeouts remaining. 20 seconds remaining. Ball marked at the 49 of Detroit.
With this quick passing game like this, if they keep these passes near the sidelines, Detroit has at least time for 3 more plays and a field goal.
Now again, Randy, it's your contention that although Eddie Murray's suffering from an ailing left hip, that was not causing the problems on the 3 missed field goals today.
I don't think it's that big of a factor. I think both of those had the length. It was the aim that was off. Both of them would have been good if they had been true.
And again, it's the left leg that's ailing him, the left hip and rear area, and that's his support leg.
But the Detroit Lions are 20 yards away from him being any kind of a factor in the finish of this game. They have 20 yards to go. They have 20 seconds to get there.
A healthy Eddie Murray, career longest, 54 yards, has done it twice in his career, the last time against the 49ers. 1st and 10 from their own 49. Sanders. Across midfield, 4-yard pickup, and the crowd does not like the play call.
Well, that was a gamble to catch Green Bay off guard. And obviously Green Bay is still thinking on the lines of, you're going to beat us. You're going to beat us throwing the ball to one of those other little guys. You're not going to beat us with Barry Sanders because we're accounting for him every play.
And Wayne Fontes has to burn out another timeout. Down to 1 as you take a look at the brain trust there. Rodney Peete, number 9, Bob Galliano, 14, and Andre Ware, the Heisman Trophy quarterback, with the baseball cap on.
And referee Tom Dooley just instructed the timekeeper to add 2 seconds back onto the clock. The clock had run down to 13 seconds. It now reads 15 seconds. There's Hank Bulla and the rest of the Green Bay defense trying to figure out how exactly they're going to stop this.
Again, Randy, we made the point at the top of the show that for both Wayne Fontes and Lindy Infante, the head coaches of the 2 teams, a crucial must-win situation today. Only one team in the past 5 years has started 1-3 and made it to the playoffs. 2nd and 7. Peete, complete to Robert Clark inside the 30 and quickly signaling for the timeout with 7 seconds remaining. A 21-yard pass play from Peete to Clark.
Good execution by the Detroit Lions run and shoot offense and a nice pass by Rodney Peete. If you're the Green Bay defense, this is the kind of pass you had to be looking for. They're dropping their linebackers back into those intermediary zones, but Peete still picks them out and hits Robert Clark on the money. This is going to put Eddie Murray right in the neighborhood of about a 44 to 43-yard field goal. And this is the time of the game you're very, very happy to have a veteran kicker like Eddie Murray out there.
So Eddie Murray will have to completely forget about any pain in that left side. But he has missed 3 today. Longest one attempted that missed 49 yards. This will be a 40, call it a 44-yard.
Critical snap.
It's up. And it's no good. So Eddie Murray misses his 4th field goal this afternoon with 3 seconds remaining.
That is highly unusual. You will never, I don't think, ever see Eddie Murray miss 4 field goals in a game.
And ironically, Wayne Fontes, when Donald Igwe-Buike, the field goal kicker and place kicker for Tampa Bay, was released, wanted him quickly, but couldn't get him quickly enough because Minnesota snatched him up.
They would have loved to give Murray a chance to heal, Murray a chance to get better. They're being consoled by Frank Gans, their special teams coach.
And Mikowski goes in the win the position stance. So Green Bay ekes out a victory in the closing seconds of this contest to improve their record to 2-2, while the Lions drop to 1-3. And Lindy Infante sign a big sigh of relief. So take a look again at Eddie Murray attempting that 44-yard field goal attempt.
It's the agony of DeFoot. And coming up, you're going to see the joy of victory on the face of Lindy Infante. Yes, just what the doctor ordered. 2-2 and headed into Chicago next week for a big matchup.
So a career low light for Eddie Murray, who misses a career high of 4 field goals in one game. So for Randy Cross, this is James Brown saying so long from the Silverdome, where the final score is Green Bay 24, Detroit 21. Coming up next, the NFL Today post-game show.